I'm going to call this meeting to order this morning. It's 9 o'clock for the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners for Thursday, April 6, 2023. Today, the agenda will have actions will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place your cell phones and beepers in the silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public, no such restrictions will be made. They must be reasonable in the time, the place, the manner of the comments, but may not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. Board of County Commissioners convening as other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serves as the Liquor Board, Central Lyon Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Weed Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board, and during this meeting may convene as any of those boards as indicated on this or a separately posted agenda. And this meeting may break between 11:30 and 1:30 for lunch. A good chance that it will. We do have a long schedule for today. Roll call. I have all commissioners in chambers. And the invocation today will be given by Thomas Walburn of Sweetwater Christian Fellowship. All rise, please, and stay standing for the pledge.
Let us be a prayer. Today, Lord, we come to you in an attitude of forgiveness, ask for repentance. Our society, Lord, has done everything in its power to take you out of our schools, our government, and our Constitution. I ask you, Lord, to empower this commission to stand firm on the Constitution they took an oath to uphold. Our nation was founded on strong Christian Judeo principles, Lord. As a nation, we need to get back to those basic proven principles. Help us once more become one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we know it begins right here in this very room, not only with these elected officials, but with each and every one of us, Lord. Anoint them that they may look to you for wisdom and knowledge. Be with our local sheriff's department, Lord, and our all first responders. Keep them safe from harm. And may your light, Lord, continue to shine here in Lyon County and on our nation. We ask, Lord, for your power, your wisdom, and courage to perform the tasks that you've given each and every one of us to do. And then to you, Lord, we give all glory and praise. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobson, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public participation. This time, no action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda action item, but before the board takes any action. Be sure that if you come up for public comment that you put your name on the list, print your name on the list and state your name for the record, please. Do we have any public comment this morning? I don't see anything on Zoom.
We have one.
We have one.
Sure. Front row.
Front row. Okay, yes, please step up and
Hi, my name is Jeff LeGrand. I'm with, I live at 381 Angelina Circle in Wellington. And I just wanted to get this over so I don't have to bug you an hour and a half from now. The only reason I'm here is I'm here to introduce myself. I'm one of the applicants for the Planning Commission. I have quite a bit of planning experience. I've been doing it for over 40 years. I just wanted to introduce myself. We moved to Wellington and 2.5 years ago. My son moved to Smith Valley a 1.5 years ago. And I saw the application notice on the internet, I don't know, a month ago. And I just wanted to introduce myself and take that time to let you know that who I am, whether you pick me or not. I do understand that many planning commissioners, because I've been working in the industry for over 40 years, are political appointments. And I don't have any political connections here in Wellington or Smith Valley or anything. But I just wanted to introduce myself. That way I can get out of your hair and get on down the road, so to speak. So I just want to introduce myself. I'm Jeff LeGrand. I'm on the list. And if you have any questions, other than that, I'll get out of your hair.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, moving on. For possible action review and adoption of agenda, we do have a couple of inputs. Actually, I have one here. Mr. Ghetto was hoping to get to work, and he was looking to change his position at 24A to possibly after 6A. After our time certain. That would be the a request at this point for 24A to be moved up. Do you have any problem with that? If not, can I have a motion to approve or adopt the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda with moving item 24A up following item 6A.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Henderson and a second by Commissioner Jacobson. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we aren't at 9:30 yet. So time certain for 6A. Not ready for that. So we move on to 7. Presentation of awards and or recognition of accomplishments. 7A is for presentation only. Present Deputy Derek Daniel with life-saving award. We have the sheriff coming up.
Good morning, Sheriff Brad Pope, Lyon County, for the record. I said we're going to present Derek Daniel with an award. As a first responder, when we start our shifts, we have no idea what's going to happen on that shift. It could be a boring shift, it could be exciting. Litany of things could happen. On March 8th, at approximately 0633 hours, Deputy Daniel responded to an address in Dayton, Nevada, in response to a suicidal subject. The call note stated that that subject had taken 30 milligrams of an opioid medication and was very unresponsive, making a snoring sound, which is agonal breathing. Deputy Daniel contacted that subject, conducted a sternum rub to try and revive that subject, was unable to find a pulse. That subject's eyes and pupils were rolled backwards and unresponsive to a flashlight. Deputy Daniel administered 1 dose of Narcan to the suicidal subject. And eventually she started to blink and regain consciousness, and he was able to find a pulse. According to paramedics who arrived on scene, Deputy Daniel's actions saved her life. So in accordance with Lyon County Sheriff's Office Policy 1016.4, Deputy Daniel engaged in superior handling of a difficult situation and saved that suicidal subject's life. So today we would like to present him with the Lyon County Sheriff's Office Life Saving Award. Thank you.
Would you mind coming up and taking a picture with the board?
It's my.
Okay,
Chair Huckabee, if I may,
yes,
just congratulations. Thank you so much. I think it speaks to some of the training, that our officers have received as well. So who's ever, Sheriff Pope, and your whole department, well done. Deputy Daniel, I can only imagine how proud your kids are of you. So well done.
absolutely. Congratulations. And we know that in law enforcement that everything you do out there is on a moment's notice. You've got to be ready. You've got to get on it. And if you don't, we always know people may not make it through. I'm having a hard time talking today. So I really appreciate your fast action, and I'm sure the victim also does. Thank you very much. Andrew, you're up.
Yeah, I just want to thank Deputy Daniel and the Sheriff's Department. You guys do amazing work and really appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
So we're going to move on to 7B for presentation only. Express sincere appreciation to volunteer organizations for their efforts associated with atmospheric river floods and winter weather events. And we have several people here. I would like everybody to stand up, though, to be recognized whenever you're done, Ms. Allison. So,
Perfect. Thank you. Taylor Allison, Emergency Communications Manager for the record. Chair Hockaday, if it's okay, I'm going to read through all 4 of them.
yes,
We'll have you stand up when you get to your organization, and at the end, we'll take a picture, if that's okay. So, Lyon County Office of Emergency Management would like to formally recognize all the volunteer organizations that contributed to not only the atmospheric river events with the winter weather that we experienced beginning in New Year's and continue to experience. Without their efforts, we wouldn't be able to accomplish what we did, including focusing on life safety and protecting residents' properties across the county. So the 4 organizations that we'd like to formally recognize today, starting with Lyon County Sheriff's Office, Volunteers in Policing. The VIPs dedicated time to staffing the Emergency Operations Call Center and followed up with residents to conduct initial damage assessment interviews, which we greatly appreciate. Those are long and sometimes daunting interviews with folks collecting pictures and information. So appreciate VIPs if you can go ahead and stand up. Thank you. We have a certificate we'll give to you. Can we take that picture? Next up, we have Lyon County Sheriff's Search and Rescue. search and rescue, they're in the back in the yellow. Thank you all for everything you do. You filled and placed sandbags in Dayton, Mason Valley, and Smith Valley during the atmospheric river flood events. You staffed also the Emergency Operations Call Center, as well as responded to several recoveries in our road closures as we had our winter weather events and Wilson Canyon closed. So thank you all for everything you do and contribute to our community. So please stand. Team Rubicon is a new group that we've been introduced to, volunteer veterans. On March 14th, they filled and placed 800 sandbags in Yerington and Mason Valley during the moderate flood watch. So thank you, Team Rubicon, and I'm sure we'll be working with you as we continue to look at. And I'm not sure if they're in person or if they're on the Zoom, but the 775 Off-Road and Recovery Group is a group of civilian volunteers that utilize their personal vehicles and equipment to rescue and have rescued dozens of citizens and travelers with vehicles stuck in snow, mud, ditches, and other hazardous conditions. So thank you to the 775 Off-Road. Oh, yeah. So thank you all. If you can come up, maybe starting with the VIPs, and we'll take a picture with the.
We'll get it right.
I'd also like to say what the volunteers did last month was we spent 107 hours securing the crash site. And this entailed 24/7 security through some really bad weather. And the volunteers really stepped up. They spent the night out there in blizzard conditions to help the county. And I just wanted to brag a little bit about the volunteers.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I know. Oh.
We'd like to recognize our commander, Patty Holding. He's always there for us. You know, he'll raise his sign or whatever, he is there. So,
I just want to say I work with the best group of volunteers you could ever ask for. They come all hours of the night for those nasty calls, and just want to say thank you. Thank you. You guys do awesome work. was.
And I just wanted to say, we have quite a few of our greater volunteers online as well, so I just wanted to thank them and a lot of the volunteers that were able to come out and help, unfortunately for those places, but unfortunately for them, they're able to serve elsewhere right now. We've got some in Malawi, some in Mississippi, some in California, so we're all over the place, but thank you for recognizing us.
And folks from 775, thank you.
Thank you. Just so you know, we do have volunteers on the Zoom call, but we're 775 off-road recovery, so we service everywhere in the 775 area. So it's far south of 1 o'clock and on the way to be called. And sometimes goes in California.
Yeah, almost got to 9:30.
Yeah, we're not quite at 9:30 yet, so we'll move on to number 8, commissioners and county manager reports. Move from Commissioner Hendricks. Do you have any comments today?
I did attend the NACO Public Lands meeting in Carson City. And also the Silver Springs Advisory Board, and met with the utilities director and got a little tour of Rolling A.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. I have nothing at this time.
Commissioner Keller.
I do attended all the NACO committees and also enjoyed the tour that Dave Paquetta from Utilities gave us with me and Tammy out there at the water treatment plant. I'm sure we're going to go back and get a little bit more knowledge on the area too. So and that's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's see, I've attended the NACO Legislative Committee calls every Friday. Talk about what's going on at the legislature so far. We haven't had anything too egregious come down the road for us. Also attended the Western Nevada Legislative Coalition on the 24th. I attended the NACO Board of Directors meeting on the 30th. And a lot of good discussion there. 2 things I want to bring out about that is that NACO adopted a resolution declaring April as National County Government Month. And also their annual conference is September 26th to the 28th in Elko. So save those dates on your calendar. Also attended the National Association of Counties Public Lands Steering Committee call. One thing of interest that was brought up there, there's the BLM published a notice in the Federal Register that they want to add the term conservation to what is considered what is considered a use on public lands. And that could have some serious consequences. So both National NACO and Nevada NACO are looking into that, and I hope to have more information on that at the end. And then finally, I attended the Dayton Valley Conservation District meeting this month and found out I have a heck of a lot to learn. So it's going to be interesting, but I look forward to it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
My comments basically are that I really do appreciate all the volunteer organizations that run around Lyon County. The county just doesn't have the manpower, woman power, however you want to put it, the people power to accomplish all of the emergency tasks that occur when we have foul weather and earthquakes and whatever else we might have in our arena here. So I do appreciate everybody that gives their time up and takes care of our citizens. So I appreciate that. I have more comments at the end of the meeting today, so I'm going to move on to county manager report.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. Again, I want to extend my gratitude to the volunteer organizations that helped out with the flooding events this year. They were a critical piece of our response. We just didn't have the manpower internally to staff the the phones and to fill sandbags and to do all the stuff that needed to be done on a moment's notice. So really want to extend that gratitude to them. So moving forward, we're preparing currently for the spring thaw, which is on a related note. So we'll be meeting with the Walker River Irrigation District next week to discuss some planning on that. We are planning on, I hope I'm not stealing too much of Taylor's thunder here, but we are going to be working on putting together a town hall meeting to discuss potential flooding risks here moving forward this spring as things warm up. Last I looked at the SNOTEL sites, we had one site at the Levitt Meadow site that was 1,200% of normal or of median for this time of year. That was a couple of days ago. So that gives you an idea of the amount of snowpack that's out there, 40 inches of water in that snow. So, and that's at our lowest SNOTEL site at 7,100 feet. So it ranges anywhere from 3 to that 300% to 100%. So it's something that we're monitoring pretty closely. We're hoping that Mother Nature cooperates with us as far as a nice kind of cool, steady warm up. But we will be getting more information out in the coming weeks. So I just want you to be aware of that. Other than that, I've been working with Comptroller Foley on finalizing budget stuff, and I'm sure he'll talk about that. I know we have our meeting on Monday to discuss the tentative budget. So that's been taking up some time. And then, of course, following the legislature, we've gotten past the point where they're introducing new bills that we've passed that deadline. So now it's just a matter of kind of sorting through everything that's out there. So are there any questions?
Questions, Commissioner, question? No?
All right.
Okay. No other reports. Let's go ahead and look at elected official reports. We're almost to 9:30, but do we have any elected officials? Okay, Sheriff, we'll let you jump in there.
Good morning again, Sheriff Brad Pope for the record. There's a few things I wanted to report to the board. First thing is we conducted our second saturation patrol, the Lyon County Sheriff's Office. The target of the saturation patrol was the Dayton Mountain House area. That was conducted on Friday, March 31st. Within that saturation patrol, we conducted 153 calls for service. Those are traffic stops, subject stops, walkthrough, one disabled vehicle, suspicious vehicles, and a knock and talk. Out of that, we arrested 11 people. Some high priority felony warrants were arrested, multiple DUIs, multiple drug arrests were made, and multiple misdemeanor arrests were made as well. Misdemeanor warrant arrests. So we're labeling that a success. Went very well. 4 seems to be the magic number. We did have one person pulled over 4 times. They were on their way to Napa to replace that headlight. So got a lot of positive feedback from the community, both on social media and in person. Know that the advisory board and stagecoach, they love the stats. We did tell them that the Silver Springs Stagecoach area is next in line for our saturation patrols. This one was unannounced, unlike our first one, and we're seeing about the same statistics. So we're going to continue with the unannounced. So we rotate back to Fernley and we'll go with unannounced there, and then we'll continue our evaluation of that. One thing we evaluated when I took office was our school resource officer program. We've been getting a lot of complaints from the Fernley schools for acts of violence. And during that evaluation process, we learned that our SROs had the mentality that it was a school issue and not a law enforcement issue, and that was allowed to float for the last 4 years. We have taken the stance, so Lyon County Sheriff's Office now has zero tolerance policy, and we will begin enforcing criminal law in school again. We're entering a joint statement with the school district. There was some concerns from the school district on the theory of the school to prison pipeline mentality. But things are getting pretty out of hand with violence in these schools. So the school district is on board. We did take the stance that regardless, this is going to be, the Lyon County Sheriff's Office policy here going forward. Our school resource officers now are aware of that. The day after we sat down with our school resource officers, he made 2 arrests the next day. So once again, we're adopting a zero tolerance policy in our schools, and there will be a joint statement out next week after the meeting with the school, final meeting with the school district. So I want to report that to you guys, and other than that, we're continuing to evaluate and change some of the direction of the sheriff's office.
Questions, Commissioner Henderson, your hands up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a question. I just wanted to commend you on your work, and I appreciate the briefings that you bring to us with all the information that you give us. It's certainly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair Hockaday. I would support you 100% and probably disagree with the school stance on jail to pipeline. If we don't correct their behaviors as kids, we're going to end up with them as adults in prison systems. So I think education and turning them around at an early age is the way to go. So my hat's off to you, and you've got my support 100%. Nice job.
Commissioner Keller.
I do support what you're doing, especially in the schools. I mean, that's so important. That track is the right way to go. And also I attended the Silver Springs Advisory Board, and your representation there is well taken. So thank you for what your effort is.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I just wanted to thank you for showing up at the school board meeting the other night too, and your input was very valuable and helpful. And I know they're considering some of the things that you brought forth.
Thank you.
Having been a substitute teacher at high school in California, and seeing the violence that went on there there were no resource officers, but even the principal would just wander away and let kids beat each other up. We have to do something in school to maintain order. Teachers have to be protected. The other students have to be protected. So I do really appreciate the fact that you're clamping down in that area and let the students know they're there to learn, not to have fights and be out of control. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
We're at 9:30. Oh, yeah, we'll go ahead and have Stacy. Yeah. I just looked at the time and said, yeah, we're past, but yeah, we'll let you take care of that.
Okay, I'm Stacy Lambert, the Lyon County Clerk Treasurer. And I've been pretty busy the first quarter, so I thought I'd give a quarter report to the sections and everyone. I actually wear 3 hats: the treasurer, the clerk, and the register of voters. And I'd like to go over some of my successes as well as tell you how I got there. So I'm going to start with the treasurer, which you've seen me usually up here in that case. We've first off, when I came in and meeting with Josh Foley, I was just taken aback at his expertise and drive. The treasurer's position was kind of like an eye opener for me. I ran on the clerk and the register side, so understanding that I could work in this position to help the county make money was exciting, and it's been a blast. I really loved it. So under Josh's direction, I've learned a lot. And we've moved funds to the LGIP account, which moved us from 1.65% per annum to close to 3.5% in January. In February, we opened a sweep account, which moved us from the 1.65 to almost 4.6. I love the numbers because it made a difference of, $80,000 to us in February. So, and now in March, you guys have approved the investment account, which we just got open, and we're hoping to give you some good reports on that. So I would say at an average, we've upped our income right around $150,000 more than we would have made as status quo. So I've made quite the artist out of Josh. I gotta say, if I don't understand something, he draws me a picture, and I can't thank him enough for giving me the direction to be so successful. On the clerk side, I gotta thank Erin. She's been amazing. She's so supportive and helping me and my staff understand the open meeting laws and our minutes and updating our documents. And I'd like to thank you. I've been very successful there due to her support. And I just want to thank her. We've done a lot of reorganization, cleaning out our storage sheds and organizing and inventorying and moving towards some electronic storage versus paper storage. So I've been busy, and I had my chief deputy look at me and say, you can do all this, but you don't have to do it at once. So I'm pretty excited and irritating a lot of people, but we've gotten a lot done. So that's been fun. On the register of voters, the top-down system working with the state, it's going to be very challenging and different, and I think it's going to be a wonderful thing. We're working through right now on what resources we're going to need, and we're trying to get the state to support and pay for a lot of the new equipment and stuff because they're requiring it. One thing we're really trying to, we've talked to our legislators and had clerk meetings, trying to get one of the biggest, I guess, issues that when I was talking with the public is keeping our voter rolls clean. And this number just stands out to me because one of the biggest issues with keeping voter rolls clean are these mandatory registrations with social services, DMV, the welfare, just filling out these applications. So out of our voters, we have 17,405 that have not voted in the last two general elections. They're just non-participants. We send out letters to them, everything, and we can't, as soon as we mark them inactive to get them off our rolls to try to improve our voter rolls, they go to DMV and they're automatically activated again. So, I mean, we spend hours and hours. We've sent out almost 3,000 letters trying to get our voter rolls cleaned up. And as minute they register a car, get social services, they're right back on our rolls. So that's a huge fight to us. And if anyone has any ears of legislators, I would love to have that addressed. And I myself reached out to a couple of them saying, hey, look at us. So some of the other people I'd really I asked questions about building and planning, and Carrie Page came over. I mean, these are busy people. They spend their time, they come over to me and say, let me ask my questions and get it worked out of my mind. So I think in one of our meetings, Commissioner Henderson said that the staff here is amazing. And I first, I'm coming in out of the blue, asking questions, dealing with this people. Carrie Page spends an hour of her time explaining her interaction with our business department, so I could wrap my mind around it. Doug and Hazen, I mean, the facilities people and the IT, trust me, I've been driving them crazy. How does this work? Let's do that, so I really got to call them out, as well as Steve Wright, as we all know. I mean, does this NRS affect me? I mean, he gets right back to me. I don't know how he does it, but he's an amazing man. So those are the people that have supported me and driven me to become very successful this quarter. And I'd like to thank them all. That's all. I
Well, thank you.
Oh, only this.
Appreciate the update. Commissioners, any questions? No? Okay.
I do have a comment.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Thank-
Commissioner Henderson.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I appreciate your enthusiasm
Hmm.
and I really appreciate you coming back and letting us know what you're doing.
Hmm.
You know, so thank you very much and keep up the great work. And more money is always better.
Especially that much money. In just a couple months, it's fantastic. All right, well, we are at 9:40, so we're going to back up to time certain 6A. And then we'll get back to the reports if we have any more of them. But let's go ahead with for possible action presentation and proclamation declaring April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Lyon County, Nevada.
Thank you. Oh, these are pretty.
Thank you.
You did.
Otherwise, me just talking, I mean, I know you guys like to hear it and all, but it goes so much better with pictures. Good morning, Shayla Holmes, Director, Lyon County Human Services for the record. I'm here today with a few partners that work front lines in the fight against child abuse, and we appreciate you guys giving us your time to present to you on this important topic of child abuse prevention. This is a complex issue that sometimes feels impossible to solve because it's so deeply interconnected with so many of society's wicked problems, such as poverty, homelessness, substance abuse, and the cycle of childhood trauma. So where do we start? I don't have a singular solution for you here today, but I do know it starts with awareness and commitment from bodies such as yourself to ensure that we're making policies and supporting programs and services that do what's best for families and youth in our communities. This complex problem is one that takes a network working together for a common goal with prevention, intervention, and postvention, and strong communities with a vested interest in seeing our youth have positive interactions with well-intentioned adults as often as possible. As you are all aware, we are in rural Nevada. Lyon County is the third largest populated county, as you also know. And we also have the largest population of rural youth. Unfortunately, we don't get to have that granular level of data when it comes to our reports to our Child Protective Services. The state provides child protective services to the 15 rural counties. Washoe and Clark provide these services for themselves. The county pays an assessment to the state for these services. You guys are going to see budgets on April 10th. Don't have a heart attack. It's about $750,000 or so that we pay to the state just for that service, which honestly doesn't cover it all. The data that is available to us on removal reasons becomes aggregated with the 15 rural counties. But I want you to consider when you're looking at these numbers, we have the largest population of youth. So when you see these numbers, they're not our children, all of our children, but our children are certainly represented in there. Some of these numbers are duplicated, right? So when you see parental drug abuse as the second number or second highest reason for a removal, and then you see parental meth use, opioid use, it's all counted in that same number. But as you can see, there's quite some alarming issues and definitely some of those wicked problems we talked about when it comes to substance abuse or homelessness. Inadequate housing is on there as a reason why kiddos get removed from their home. I think removal reasons are important to focus on because this is how we start working backwards into prevention. Next slide, please. Yeah.
Chairman Hawkins. Sorry, before we move on, Ms. Holmes, could we go back to that slide? Sorry. Help me explain that, understand that percentage. 128.
Those are
is
just the top chunks. That's not all of the, so, and again, like you might have duplicates in there. So you might have a child who was removed because of neglect and parental drug abuse.
So this is out, technically, this is out of 100%, but some of that is duplicated.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you for helping me understand.
It gets a little hairy the way they do that reporting, but
being able to break down some of those reasons for neglect, because neglect is just a big topic.
Right.
So how do we help neglect? Well, it turns out maybe neglect is also drug abuse related.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you've heard me present before, you've heard me talk about adverse childhood events known as ACEs. To sum it up quickly, to catch you up if you haven't heard it, or to not bore you if you've heard it a few times, ACEs was a significant longitudinal study originating from Kaiser Permanente, where researchers identified 10 specific events. Those are what's on the screen. Under abuse, neglect, or household challenges. I probably should have my glasses on because I can't see them all, but I want to say it's physical abuse, sexual abuse. There's also divorces on there, incarcerated families are on there. You've probably got it closer to your eyeball, so they probably make more sense to you. But those are the 10 questions on that screener. And what they found is that children that have one of those, that check one of those boxes, and then if they check 2 or 3 or 4, the more you compound, the more likely they are to have a direct correlation to negative adulthood outcomes. So for, like I said, for each experience, the likelihood of risky behavior goes up, such as substance abuse or smoking or physical inactivity or other physical and mental health concerns such as cancer, heart disease, suicidality, STIs, stroke, diabetes. The list is pretty intense. And all of things which end up back on our plate, working with adults and taxpayer dollars as well. So while ACEs are a tragedy, don't let all of my negative talk fool you. I think. The current research has shifted to its focus on how do we combat ACEs. And it turns out creating positive experiences is an amazing way to negate ACEs and those terrible possible outcomes. Research is currently showing that if you have 2 strong, positive, genuinely interested adults that are not your parents in your life as a youth, you can effectively throw the impact of ACEs out the window. So I'm going to pause here for a second and talk to you guys for about Big Brothers Big Sisters. We're working really hard on getting them out in Lyon County. We're starting in Fernley as it's our most populated area. And if we could show success in Fernley, we're just going to keep it rolling right down the 95 corridor and out through Highway 50. They're struggling to get bigs. So if you know anybody that would be an amazing mentor, we want to get them connected to Big Brothers Big Sisters. We've got a list of littles ready to rock. It takes an hour of your time a week to be a big. And it really could literally save some of these kiddos' lives, that 1 hour a week. So again, if you know somebody that wants to go have lunch at a school with a little, send them our way, send them to Big Brothers Big Sisters. We'd love to get them moving on that process. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Jenna Dykes, our Children's Services Division Manager for Lyon County, and she's going to tell you guys a little bit about the family or the services we offer.
Good morning. I am Jenna Dykes. I am the Division Manager for Children's Services. On your screen, you will see a quick list of the services we provide to families in Lyon County. The first program up there is Differential Response. This is a program that we work really closely with DCFS on. All the referrals we get from these families come from DCFS. So they don't need the level of an investigation or removals or anything like that, but the family could benefit from services. We go in there, we do a quick assessment, get to know the family, and we focus our goals on the allegations in the referral. Family support program is very similar to DR. However, those referrals can come from anyone in the community. We get them from schools, juvenile probation, families refer themselves in. We get internal referrals from other programs within our department. Nevada Families First is an early home visiting program. This program works with families prenatal to up to age 5 with kiddos. And they go into the home and they work on developmentally appropriate parenting, family well-being, development of the child. They do screenings and assessments, and then they refer families to services that would benefit their child and family. So if they see that a child is maybe lacking in one area of development, they can work on skills in that area, or if it gets too far out of our scope, we can refer them to the appropriate services so those kiddos don't fall behind. Parent Project is a program that we partner with juvenile probation. It is a 10-week parenting course, and it really focuses on those higher level kiddos that need services and how those parents can help those kiddos. So we're looking at maybe gang affiliation, drug use, alcohol use, risky sexual behaviors. We work with the parents for once a week for 10 weeks, and they get to know other families who are going through this, and they build a support network within those around them. They also, this class, we partner with juvenile probation, so we get that law enforcement side as well. System of Care is our newest program. This program works with youth who we want to keep out of the juvenile justice system. Children's Services is all about prevention, and we don't want those youth to enter that system. I think we all know that once an individual enters a justice system, they could be in that system for the rest of their life. And for a youth, that's a really long time. So System of Care, we are kind of the first point where the family would come in, and we would go into the home, do a quick assessment, and then see what level of care they need. If it's a lower level, we get them connected to individual counseling. A medium level, we partner with community chest, and we refer the family into multidimensional family therapy. If it's a higher level of need, we look for services that are appropriate for that level, and that could be residential treatment centers. Women, Infant, and Children, or WIC, is a nutrition supplemental program, and it also is a breastfeeding education program. We work with women who are pregnant and breastfeeding, and then infants and children up to age 5. They work on goals with the family that surround nutrition, and they're very well educated in breastfeeding, and they help moms and kiddos every day with that struggle. That can be pretty hard. We also offer free parenting classes throughout the community. In Fernley and Dayton, we do have regular classes. Parents can just show up. They don't have to register. It's free. They can just come. We kind of get to know them a little bit, what their situation is, and then teach a class that would benefit them. We don't want someone coming with a 2-year-old and teaching them a teen class because they've got years before that. And we want them to know what they need right now. We can also work with parents in home on parenting. They can come into our offices. We meet in the library. We can do it over Zoom. We try to make it as easy for parents as possible. Cribs for Kids is our next program, and this is a safe sleep program. We go into the home where they can come into office, and we teach the family how to put their kiddo to sleep safely to avoid SIDS and SUIDs. Once they do a quick hour class of the safest way to put their baby to sleep, they get a free pack and play, which is a safety approved place for a baby to sleep. And again, totally free. And then lastly, our car seat program. We have 7 trained technicians, which is a very extensive training that you have to go through. We have 4 community events throughout the grant year, and we can have families come, we check their seat. We make sure it is not damaged, it has all its labels, it's not expired, and the kiddo fits appropriately into the seat they have. If the seat is appropriate, we install it correctly, and we teach the parents how we're doing that and how to restrain the child properly. If the seat is not appropriate for that child, we give them a new one, a free car seat, so that kiddo can be as safe as possible in their car. Up there, you see a picture of some of my wonderful staff members. I really want to give a shout out to them because they are boots on the ground. They're going into these homes every day. They're seeing families in office. None of this would be possible without them. For those who are not in that picture, I do have them in chambers today. So I just, again, want a huge shout out to them because this is really amazing work and they just are amazing people. So thank you so much for having us, and I'll pass it off to Shandy.
Hello, Commissioners. Candy Mortensen with the Division of Child and Family Services. Before I start my presentation, there's just a quick update, which I think you guys will be happy with. Prior to March of this year, Lyon County DCFS was affiliated with the Carson City Douglas County District. Our higher ups were able to, based on population and different factors, make Lyon County its own district. So we now have our own district. So you have, we're District 5, so it's just Lyon County, which that created a manager position, which that it currently is me. I was promoted for that. I think that with the 26 years I've had working in Lyon County, you know, it is about time that Lyon County has its own district. I just think that's really important for everything, because now even though we're all tied together and we all have the same administrator, we're able to do a little bit more that's geared just to Lyon County and not with other counties. So Child Protective Services, DCFS, we do all of the, as Shayla talked about, the money you guys give to the state helps pay my social workers' salaries and different things that we do, foster care and all those other programs. We have an office in Fernley and we also have an office in Yerington. And we do everything from assessments, which is the Child Protective Services investigations. We have what's called an ongoing ongoing unit, which is when children are either on a voluntary or an involuntary plan with the division. Usually when we're on the back end of our model, we are working hand in hand with the district attorney's office because we filed a petition for a 432B child abuse and neglect, which means those children are in the legal and physical custody of the division. And they're either placed with relatives, fictive kin, or in foster care. I honestly really can't see that far either. So if you want to switch it, I think I'm just gonna have to, well, I can see it now. But you know, so that's actually probably go to the next one. So I just talked about that. But in regards to one of the main things that Lyon County lacks is foster homes. And I know I've been on the soapbox every year that I come to this presentation and proclamation you guys give us. And we're in really dire needs. Lyon County has 5 foster homes, 5. And we have 1 in Fernley, 3 in Dayton, and 1 in Silver Springs. They are all full. And so we are in a huge crisis where we currently have foster children in hotels with rotating staff because we have the lack of foster homes. Also in other counties, not ours, thankfully, there are also children in staff homes who are being cared for because of the lack of foster homes. We try and not, the federal government frowns on congregate care, which is like when we used to have orphanages. But like Washoe County, which is the second populated county, has what's called kids cottage. So when children are removed, they go into this congregate care, and then it's vetted out where they go into foster care, into different foster homes. Clark County also has the same, it's called Child Haven. We have approached our higher ups with the division to see about possibly opening up some empty cottages. NYTC up in Elko has some empty cottages. The Learning Homes in Reno has some empty cottages that maybe we could have. I think it would be less of a liability if we had our children in state facilities versus in a hotel down on Carson Street, or in a hotel in Winnemucca, or in staff's homes. And so it's a huge issue. And I know that there's a Mayor Holbrook out of Carlin, Nevada, who has met with mayors across the state, and they are trying to help bring this awareness across because it's affecting all 15 counties that DCFS covers. Go ahead with the next. That's a DA. So I can answer questions now, or I can come at after Carmela's done presenting and Casa's done presenting, you know, whichever's easiest. So I'm not sure if you guys are going to have questions, but Fernley City Council had a few, so I don't know if you guys had the same.
No questions? No questions.
Hi, my name is Carmela Reed. I'm the Senior Deputy District Attorney for Lyon County. So the district attorney's responsibilities kind of fall into 2 categories. First, as Candy alluded to, we work closely with DCFS. When there is a removal proceeding and a child is in foster care, there's court proceedings taking place. The district attorney's office is present with DCFS during those court proceedings. We help them with the necessary paperwork as needed. And we stay with them all the way up until termination, until they're preparing for the termination proceedings. The other area that the district attorney's office participates in is criminal prosecution. That is a significant part of what we do overall, but as needed when necessary, we also file criminal criminal charges when appropriate, whether it's a child abuse or if there's a sexual abuse allegation. And we prosecute those cases as needed. Now, Mary Smith is going to talk about CASA.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm sorry, I can't see that far, not for the life of me. I'm Mary Smith with Lyon County CASA. I want to talk to you a little bit about our advocacy and what we do. We have a volunteer base that once the district judge has decided that a child is in need of protection through DCFS, the 432B case becomes effective and the judge appoints CASA. From that point, we get to know the families, the children, the teachers, the therapists, the doctors, placement. Everywhere we do our investigations, we do our reports, we report back directly to the judge because we're an independent volunteer entity. Our volunteers are trained nationally and then annually as well. When people think about the volunteers for CASA, they think, oh, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a doctor, I don't have any of, all you have to have is a love for kids and a commitment to about 2 hours a week on average. And our cases run about 18 months nationally average. From the onset of the case to the dismissal of the case, we stay with that same child until the judge dismisses us. And what we do is, again, we learn about the kiddo, we engage with the families, we engage in their case plan that DCFS provides and develops, we make recommendations to the court, we collaborate with the DA, with DCFS, with the schools, with everybody involved in that child's life or those children's lives we are a part of, and then we provide those reports. Next slide, please. So Lyon County is a huge county. Oh, see, I can see it now. Last year, we served 89 abused and neglected children. Right now, that number is down from what it was last year, which is great. Will it go up? I'm sure it will. My volunteers donated over 1,900 hours of their lives to these children, and they traveled over 8,500 miles because there's kiddos placed all over the state. And it is not an odd occasion for some of my volunteers to go 200 miles in a day to see the kids, which is obviously a rural commitment that you make. We all know that in Northern Nevada. With a CASA, with the children that have a CASA, they're less likely to go back into the system themselves as adults. They're more likely to succeed in school. And they're more likely to be placed permanently in a safe home. Now, Shayla and Jenna, we're talking about the pinwheel planting. That's you haven't talked about it yet. Sorry.
That's okay, you keep going.
CASA is doing a separate one because we want to utilize the schools, and being that spring break is this week and tomorrow is Go Blue Day. We're going to go out into schools in all 5 of the communities and do our pinwheel planting the week of the 17th. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions? No?
Thank you. I'll give it back to Ms. Shayla.
I have to say, Carmela did a fabulous job. She found out this morning that she was going to be participating, but she knows her business. So Mary touched on a little bit our community efforts. We are doing our pinwheel planting tomorrow at 10 a.m. throughout the county. We are partnering with our Boys and Girls Clubs to make sure that as many kiddos that are available during spring break are able to be there, and anybody else that wants to come and join us for this very important campaign. We've also got other stuff going on, like coloring contests. Kiddos can win some prizes through our office if they submit a colored pinwheel. We've also got a social media campaign, and we put this show on the road and we take it to anybody that's willing to listen to us. We do this presentation a couple times throughout the month. And get as many proclamations from governing bodies as we possibly can. And to wrap up, I just want to say we've got numerous partners in the community that are deeply committed to seeing our youth have the best possible childhoods. You've heard about a few of them, like our Lyon County School District is an amazing partner. Our Sheriff's Department is very embedded in this work. Boys and Girls Club of Mason Valley and Boys and Girls Club of Truckee Meadows. Juvenile Probation, Healthy Communities Coalition, Community Chest Incorporated, and there are so many others, so many civic groups that work diligently throughout our county and provide back and make sure that our youth are okay. But if I brought them all here with me to talk to you, we'd be up here for a few more hours and you probably want to get to some business. So with that, we thank you for your time and we're open to any questions or comments.
Questions? Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. Just to all you ladies, thank you for all you do for our youth and adults. When you're helping a kid, I know you're also helping their parents, whether it's become better parents or help them through difficult stuff. So thank you for all you do for the kids and those families. Also just want to thank all you ladies. It seems like every single meeting on the consent agenda time, we're accepting grants and all this stuff. So the work you ladies have done to help our county receive more money, help our kids, help our families, it just makes Lyon County stronger. So truly thank you all very, very much.
Any other comments? No other questions or comments? Thank you very much. Basically support exactly what Commissioner Jacobson said. Do an outstanding job. We know that. We hear from you routinely and you're always out there helping the kids. Definitely appreciate that all the time. So I do have a
quickly.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, Ms. Holmes, you said 10 o'clock, right?
10 o'clock
At the Boys and Girls
at the
Club.
Boys and Girls Club in Dayton. Yes.
I will be there.
Yeah.
I'll see you there.
Okay,
Okay.
fabulous.
We have the schedule then.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. So I do have a proclamation that I will read into the record. We have it dated April 6th. Whereas in federal fiscal year 2021, 3.9 million reports were made to Child Protective Services. And whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas our children are our most valuable resources and will shape the future of Lyon County. And whereas child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for victims of abuse. Whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. Whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between child welfare professionals, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families. Whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families, now, therefore, the Lyon County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Lyon County and urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and families. Thank you very much.
Motion.
Need a motion to
Need a
approve that?
motion to accept the proclamation. Do I have one?
Yes. Make a motion to approve the proclamation declaring April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Lyon County, Nevada, as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Keller and a second by Commissioner Henderson. All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, before we do that, we got to do public comment.
Oh, public comment. Any public comment on this proclamation? And presentation.
Mark Jones, Wellington. My wife and I were foster parents, and very active in CASA. And you've got to have a tough skin to be CASA, because you're that child's advocate at every hearing, every dispute between the parents. And they come home and they're drained after trying to take care of these kids. So I take my hats off to anybody. My wife and I are staunch supporters of Austin's house. And I think that house should be the model for childcare, because these kids are taken out, put in that home, They still get to go to all their activities, all the same schools, they bus them everywhere, so they don't interfere with the life of that child, they just make it better. And that should be what childcare is all about. And so I really take my hat off to you guys. It's a tough gig.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We have any other public comment? Don't see any. Okay, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We have 5-0. Who was the second on that? You were second, yes. Okay. Thank you. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. And then we'll come back and do item 24A. So. We have Scott outside the door.
He's right now.
Commissioner Keller.
Okay.
Hold
All
up
right.
progress.
All right, we're going to 24A. Okay, we're going to call this meeting back to order. It is 10:18. We are going to do item 24A for presentation and discussion, presentation and update from the Lyon County Public Administrator, Bob Ghetto. And you're on, sir.
Thank you. My name is Bob Ghetto for the record. I'm the appointed Lyon County Public Administrator. And it's been a while since I've got a chance to talk with you folks, that we now have change of faces and that type of thing. And so I thought it'd be a good time to reintroduce everyone to the office of the Lyon County Public Administrator. The Lyon County Public Administrator is a small office, and I am appointed for Lyon County. It's one of the constitutional offices in the state constitution where they're supposed to be elected. And the history of public administration has not been pristine. There's been issues over the decades with things that have gone not so well with public administration. The public administrator is the official for each county who manage the estates of those folks who die without a will or without family. And that is a quite common occurrence in society, unfortunately. So when a person is elected to that position, it takes a special skill set to be able to do that, and you've got to be quite diverse. Over time, throughout the counties, there's been a lot of issues that have not gone well because the elected official doesn't have the oversight that maybe that elected official needs. You know, public administration, technically, a good way to say this, it's legal identity theft is what it is, because you have to assume the role of that deceased person to close out the properties, close out the bank accounts, the assets, the real estates, and everything else that goes with it, including IRS tax returns, because the IRS is very interested in those who pass away. So a little bit of history with us and with me in Lyon County, you'll see that as of March 2022, of the 17 counties that we have, over the decades, Humboldt, Lander, White Pine, and Lincoln were having issues where they were able to approach the legislature and have the district attorney assume the role of the public administrator. And that seems to work well for those counties, including Story. I'm sorry, there's 5 counties that do that. In Carson City, they were able to approach the legislator, and they have the city clerk treasurer be the public administrator. And that model is working only so well for them because the Carson City clerk treasurer is a full-time job as it sits. A few years ago, with then Assemblyman Robin Titus, after the last issue that Lyon County had with some public administrators, I think in a row, They were able to approach the legislature and they were able to pass a bill that said that Lyon County could appoint a public administrator. And through Jeff Page, that's how I got brought into the scenario. Because coincidentally, at the same time, I'm the elected public administrator for Churchill County. So out of the 17 counties, I'm the only one handling 2 counties, and that gives me a clientele base of around 100,000 people. The public administrator needs to have a skill set that you can do bookkeeping. You've got to understand real estate. You've got to understand firearms and the dangers of those and getting those transferred. You've got to understand taxes. And so it's a pretty thorough, involved job. How does the public administrator get their cases and their clientele? Well, the Lyon County Sheriff's Department very often will make a report to a deceased person, and there's no relatives or anyone to secure the property, protect the property. And so the Lyon County Sheriff's Department will call me often 24/7 to lock up and secure property until we can find next of kin, if there are any. Also, I get a lot of calls from Lyon County Human Services through their indigent program, because we'll have folks who are indigent who have now ended up into a mortuary for one reason or another. And we have to do something with that person to respectfully have them cremated. And the county does pay for that, but the research has to be done to make sure there's no next of kin willing or able to step forward. The mortuaries will call me because they'll end up with cases where a body has been brought into their care and the family has decided, you know what, we love them, but not that much. And they just abandon the body at the mortuary. And that is a common occurrence. And that's got to be dealt with. And then we have next of kin. And a lot of times next of kin, in Nevada, there's a state law that if you pass away without a will in Nevada, and you have next of kin, and every single one of them is out of state, you cannot manage that estate, that probate. You must be a Nevada resident. So just the fact that people have children in another state and they have not taken the time to put together a will is extremely problematic. That's the office of the Lyon County Public Administrator, and it's busy and there's a lot going, and I'm an office of one person. The Lyon County Public Administrator also is the only elected official, not the Lyon County Public Administrators in general, except for Washoe and Clark, are the only elected officials that don't get paid. They also don't get PERS, and they don't get insurance. I hear that there are mayors that get PERS and insurance. I hear that there are council people that get PERS and insurance. I hear that there's school board members that get paid insurance and that type of thing, but the public administrators do not. There is a state NRS that says that the public administrator, instead of compensation, gets a percentage of the estate. It's a complicated formula. I don't know who picked it out, but it has a series of different thresholds. It kind of averages out around 3% of an estate. So what happens if you have a person who's passed away and maybe they have a bicycle and maybe a couple of bags of clothes and maybe they have $1,000 in the bank, you get about 3% of that, and that's about $30 for that 10 months of work. If you have someone who has $100,000, maybe they have a house and a car and no will and no family, well, you get about 30% of that, and that's about $3,000 roughly. So all of that is great, but there's a lot of time spending working basically for free. And once in a while, you'll find a person who'll die within Lyon County that might have $1 million. That has happened more than once. Well, then you would get about 3% of that. There's the good, there's the bad, there is feast, there is famine. It's everything across the board. And that's where public administration has gone bad over the decades in the state of Nevada, because these public administrators end up working for free and there's expenses that have to be done. And that's where things have not been well. Thankfully, what Lyon County has done and what Churchill County has done is both of those counties now have decided that they give a stipend to the public administrator's office. In Lyon County, it's about $7,500 per quarter. And that money is used to try and do postage stamps, a copy machine, renting of a space for a cell phone, for the software that we need to learn about the person's deceased relatives. Everything it takes to run an office, thankfully, Lyon County does that so that we can basically do bare bones. So I just wanted to make sure that people know that I'm here. Public administration is in all the counties is an obscure office that people don't really know about. And they think it's smoky and they think that it's gray and they think it's scary. But true public administration needs to be public. It needs to be open like a looking through a clear pane of glass. Because of that, I involve Steve Rye in all of my cases. I work closely with the judges, so everybody knows what's going on. I keep precise bookkeeping that anybody can look at anytime. It works well, and that's the other reason that I'm here, is because I want you guys to know I'm here, and I like you guys watching what I'm doing and knowing what I'm doing, because it's super important to keep the estates running smoothly and cleanly. I was appointed back in 2016. Since about that time, I've handled about 300 cases in Lyon County. Not all of those require full service. Sometimes I'll find a cousin, a second cousin, a third cousin that'll step in, and then I close that case and move it on to the relative. But of the 300 and some odd cases that I've had so far, about 100 of those have needed full service, that everything needs to be done as far as closing out those estates. Appreciate you guys moving me up in the schedule because I have an emergency court hearing coming up soon, but I do want to answer questions you have, because I usually have a lot of questions about public administration.
Questions, Commissioner Keller?
I did have a question. You said you get a stipend for $7,500 per quarter.
That's correct.
Is that for Lyon County or Churchill County or both? Or is it like 60,000 a year or 30,000?
Yeah, 7,500 per quarter is Lyon County. 7,000 per quarter is Churchill County.
Okay.
And that's per quarter.
And you still get the 3% if you can.
It's approximately, yeah, what it is, and to be clear for the record, you get 4%. First, you're going to take the assets, subtract the liabilities, whatever that number is. You get 4% of the first $15,000, 3% of the next $85,000, 2% of every 100,000 thereafter. So that's in statute. Also, Lyon County and Churchill County, the law says that anything to deal with real estate, anything to deal if someone has a business, that is a separate extraordinary service. And you guys pay $70. You guys don't pay, the estate pays $70 per hour to manage that. So effectively, the county pays nothing except for that stipend. The estates need to pay all their other expenses until they're bankrupt, which is quite often. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's what I wanted to know, is how that all worked. And you also said you closed down their any of their accounts and everything else. Are you just talking about financial accounts, stuff like that? Nothing,
Stocks, retirement.
nothing else like social media, that kind of thing.
That is a problem. That is a problem because normally I can't get into their laptops or computers. And in order to have someone break into those, usually costs $300, $400, $500, $600, and it's money we don't have. If I can get their accounts, I shut them down. If not, I don't. there's constantly a shortage of money in almost every case.
Commissioner Hendricks, nothing? Commissioner Henderson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for the presentation. It was, it's quite educational and certainly things I didn't know. You said you were appointed in 2016?
2016.
Was there a,
Jeff Page and Robert Titus worked together to get Lyon County pumped out.
is that open-ended appointment?
It's an open-ended appointment as far as I know until, and Jeff Page at that time said if I could just help out for 6 months would be appreciated. And now here we are in 2023.
Yeah.
We've made so much progress in Lyon County. And we have Lyon County and Churchill County running very parallel together. And it's a really good fit between the two communities and it's going smooth, in my opinion.
Well, good. And I certainly appreciate what you do because you get involved in difficult situations, every single one of them.
And family fights. And once we find a relative, it'll take 3 months to find a distant cousin. And there might be then a stepchild, and then we might have $600 left over, and it's a battle for that $600. Technically, when you find no one at all, that money goes to the state of Nevada comptroller, and it's supposed to go for educational purposes, and we do send money to the state of Nevada often.
Yeah, I appreciate what you do. It takes a special person to do that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I appreciate the presentation. I didn't know any of that stuff either. And I'm glad you're here to help our county.
I've got a lot more to say, and today is not appropriate, but I can do a whole workshop on probate, wills, public administration, and it's important that we know that in Lyon County because there's so many people that don't have anything.
Commissioner Keller? Yeah, Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you, Chair Hockaday. I appreciate your time and that was very educational for me as well. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I did have one question. You know, when you do find a family member out there after months of search, is there a percentage brought out of the estate then, or is it just you pass it off and you're done with them?
It depends on what participation they're going to do.
Okay.
Very often we'll find the family after 2 or 3 or 4 months, and it looks like half the time the decedent, the person who's died, is running from the family, or the other half is the family's running from them. I see it both ways. But if they choose to step in, then with the help of the district attorney, we try and find out if there's any compensation that should come my way for time lost, for time spent, and let them take over. Or sometimes it's just a complete write-off and you guys just take the case and wrap it up.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, we need to go back to elected official reports, item 9. Again, thank you, Bob. Who else do we have for elected officials? Nobody's here. All right, we'll go to number 10. Everybody agrees with that. We'll go to appointed official reports. Who gets to step up for appointed officials? Not all at once. We'll let you get up one at a time if you'd like. Nobody's moving. Oh, there we go. All right.
Where
All right.
are ruffles and flourishes?
Yeah. Mr. Foley.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to update you, the remodel of the district courts went out to bid and it came back. We'll bring that probably to your next meeting. It came in $200,000 under the architect's estimate. So it's approximately $9.2 million is what we are anticipating this time. So I wanted to give you that heads up. In addition to that, we have submitted an offer for employment for HR director and she's accepted. So May 8th should be the start date. So hopefully we'll be able to bring her to meet you in the not too distant future. Besides that, we have one more critical labor shortage item to bring you after today's agenda, and that's for a juvenile probation work group coordinator, where they supervise the kids doing community service on the weekends and other days occasionally as well. So just FYI, there's some things coming to you. And of course, we'll all get together and have fun on Monday morning for the budget.
Thank you.
You do have candy, right?
Hey, better make sure there's some Easter candy left over for you, huh? Are you
Left
gonna have too
over,
much the day before?
we expect fresh. Okay,
Fresh. Okay, thank you.
thank you. Okay,
For the record, Taylor Allison, Emergency Communications Manager. I just wanted to, gosh, I've been tripping on my words all morning. Brief the board that following recent flood events, FEMA preliminary damage assessment teams and state damage assessment teams through the Division of Emergency Management have come out and confirmed that we did meet our damage threshold of 260,000 and some change. And so the state DEM office is working to request a presidential declaration, which would open up those public assistance programs and potentially individual assistance programs. So still in the process, but we did meet our threshold and happy to come back to the board with any additional information.
thank you for all your work and getting all that done. Appreciate it. Any questions for?
No, thank you very
No,
much,
just- yes.
Ms. Allison.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll let Mr. Homestead has his hand up. And we'll have Ariel.
Good morning, Doug Homestead, Facility Director for the record. We also got the bids in for the Lyon County Fairgrounds Drainage Pavement Program. They're over the amount of what we have in that item for the ARPA funds. Not by very much, but of the 3 projects you guys funded for the fairgrounds, we're ending up about $34,000 remaining in those funds. And I'm going to be coming to you next meeting to use those funds to go towards the paving or anything else out there to help enhance the fairgrounds out there. And also bring the bid to you to approve the awarding of the bid for that project. And also we had some flooding at the cemetery in Smith Valley. Some graves sunk a little bit and some headstones tipped over and leaning. So we're gonna have to do some work up there to get that straightened out too. And I attended the Smith Valley meeting last night, the advisory board, and I have nothing else to report. Any questions?
Commissioner Henderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Homestead, thank you and your crew for all your hard work that you guys have done during the weather events that we've had. But one question I have for you, do we now have sole possession of the county building and stagecoach?
That'd be a question for Steve, but I don't believe the titles have, the deeds have been changed yet.
No. I'm talking about the community center that we changed the locks on.
Oh, yes. Oh, I thought you were talking about Mound House. Okay, yeah, we have control of that. Maria is handling all the reservations for it, and it seems to be working out good. We've been moving a bunch of junk out of there, and I think the community's happy with what we're doing, so we're moving forward on it.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Yeah, Mr. Homestead, the runaway ATV damage, are you happy with the repair work that's done at the cemetery?
Yeah, I noticed last night I ran by there and they'd fixed the fence. They've taken the headstones away. I assuming they're brought them to have them either redone or built new ones, the 2 headstones they damaged. But otherwise the fence looks good. And I think we're good on that now. The Folstones took care of that for us.
All right, just want to make sure that I didn't get a chance. I was at a funeral there yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to go over and see what was going on at that west side of the cemetery. I did see the fence was repaired. I appreciate fix that. So
yeah, and the 2 headstones are still missing, but I was there the day they were hauling them off, and I assume they were taking them either to somebody to have them replaced or repaired.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Curriola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Louis Carriola, Community Development Director. Just a couple updates. You will be seeing these critical labor shortages for the building staff that were, as you know, attempting to bring into county employees opposed to the contract previously with Far West and now with Dowell. We did successfully bring Gene Stewart over into county employee as a Lyon County building inspector. He's the inspector that works primarily in Dayton in the north part of the county. Secondarily, we've had a couple meetings, including one with Commissioner Keller, with some project proponents for the Northern Nevada Industrial Center. They would be proposing, I'm not really sure to discuss the project, but they will be proposing essentially the first large projects on the Lyon County side of the USA Parkway, and that would be close to the intersection with Highway 50. And then I think finally, also associated with that part of the county in Silver Springs, now attempting to organize a public meeting in the Silver Springs Community Center, potentially in the first week of May, to sort of a town hall meeting to discuss the Silver Springs area drainage master plan. And I'll make sure that everybody is aware of that date once we have it set. That said, I'm available for any questions you might have.
Questions? Oh, Commissioner Keller.
I just wanted to point out that the development for NEC, that's the acronym for that on our side. It's out of the site of Silver Springs, pretty much where they're doing that stuff. So when you said it was close to Highway 50, it's actually for people that aren't familiar with it. When you come out of the roundabout and you start to head up to Story County, there's that long straightaway. It's past that long straightaway before you get to their property. So a lot of times you can't even see it from Silver Springs.
Thank you for the clarification.
Well, thank you. I believe no more hands, no more people jumping up in chambers. So let's go ahead and move on to advisory board reports.
Erin Lopez for the record. I just wanted to mention that we did finish our open meeting law handbook. And then Andrew did some planning training that we have on YouTube. I just wanted to encourage that if there are any other entities out there that have new board members, that they're more than welcome to share that video and share that training. Those that were unable to make it to that day, we did share the video with the board members and encourage them to, for the chairmen of those boards, of our advisory boards, to make sure that they do get that done with by the end of April to get their requirements done for the year. That's what I was trying to say. So that was all I wanted to report. You guys have any questions for me?
Questions? No questions. Okay. Thank you. We have the vice chair of the advisory board for Smith Valley.
Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
No.
Our board has been very active. So we've got a new board, mostly. We have almost 4 new members, I guess it is. But I want to thank Doug, if he's still on there, because he's been a tremendous help in getting our direction going to fixing the cemetery. And we have 2 members assigned to the cemetery to make sure. I don't know if he was mentioning it, but we do have, it's going to computerized tracking of all the graves and stuff. We've got he's got the software. So we'll actually know where people are buried. And we're hoping to be able to put the headstones back where they belong. So it is a challenge out there because it's an old cemetery. But anyway, I want to thank Doug because he's really got that going on. Also, we've been working on going to work with the county, Douglas County development to try to get NDOT to put in some turn lanes on 208. They really need them bad up in TRE because there's a lot of stopping. People are coming down that hill pretty quick and somebody wants to turn. Same way on Lower and Upper Colony. So we're working on that. Also, we sent a letter to you guys, should have hit it today, but we're requesting that our meetings be allowed to be changed to the first Wednesday of every month at 6 o'clock. Because we're the only CAD that doesn't have a set date for their meetings. So that'll be coming up before you guys to consider. And we hope you'll allow us to do that because it just makes it so much smoother when you know you can book first thing every month or something. So that's all we have from there, but we're moving, we're getting things done.
And you need to identify yourself for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark Jones.
Okay. Yeah, I understand it was was and still is confusing, the fact that Smith Valley has their meeting on the first Wednesday of the month, unless that's the first day of the month. So it was always the first Wednesday after the first Tuesday. And having looked into that, it was something that was very important 18 years ago, and nobody can remember why it was so important. But yeah, sorry I missed the meeting last night. I was a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to certainly be looking forward to that agenda item to get it back on track where everybody knows when it is. Because I've had people call me and say, it's the first Wednesday. Why is nobody at the meeting? Well, because it's the first day of the month and therefore there was no meeting. So I agree that the confusion can be really terrible. I think that's it, unless we have somebody else on Zoom that wants to talk for advisory board report. I don't see anybody. And we're going to go on to the consent agenda. Action will be taken on all items. All matters are listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action and without an extensive hearing. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. So, commissioners, anybody have anything they want to pull?
No, Chairman Hawkins, at this time, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda 12A through 16D.
Okay, I'm going to see if any public wanted anything to say also before we press on with that. Okay, so we do have a motion to, and a second motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Henderson. And just before we take a vote here, I was going to bring up, because I did discuss this with the county manager, that we always have, not always, but many times we have planning consent items. And just before we take the vote on that, the consent agenda, in my opinion, should include all consent items. So maybe in the future, we will also add that section to the regular consent agenda. So that if we were doing it today, it would be 12A through 17A and we would vote on that. But since that'll be something separate, just kind of letting you know to think about that. That's so I have a motion. Do I have all those in favor of the consent agenda 16A through 16D? Say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Nope, we got 5-0. We're moving along. Now we'll go ahead and get to the planning consent agenda. And of course, that one is the approval of release the improvement bond, accept the maintenance bond, and accept the certificates of completion for the Heritage Ranch Estates subdivision phase 1 and 2 located in Dayton, Nevada. Any commissioner comments on that? Public comments on that? If not, I'll take a motion for that consent agenda item.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item 17A as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Henderson, motion, Commissioner Jacobs, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, yeah, I asked for that at the beginning there. So that ends that. Public hearing on planning items were done. Their planning item for possible action to approve the request for a zoning map amendment from Microsoft Corporation to change the zoning on 5 parcels comprising approximately 30.88 acres in Silver Springs from RVP, which is Recreational Vehicle Park District, MHP Mobile Home Park District, and C1 Limited Commercial District to NC Neighborhood Commercial in accordance with the existing master plan designation of commercial. APN 018-551-03, 01081 -551-0. Is that correct? They flip-flopped that on us. Shouldn't that be 018 also? I didn't notice that before. At 018-551-03, 018-551-04, 018-552-01. 018-552-02 and 015-141-04. PLZ 2023-002. Staff report, and I'm looking at that, that's the first time I noticed that they didn't flip-flop the 1 and the 8.
Yeah. That's correct on the staff report.
So the staff report is correct. Sorry, I missed that at the beginning. All right, staff report, go ahead.
Louis Carriola, Community Development Director. We'll certainly confirm the APNs, but I'm just here. Oh. Apologies, yes,
Yeah,
the
zero.
second APN, the 0 and 8 are intended to be the other way around.
Okay.
Again, Louis Carriola for Community Development. I'm just reporting on the Planning Commission action. The applicant, Wood Rogers, Representative Stacy Huggins is here, and she'll make the presentation. But at the March 14 Planning Commission meeting, there were only 4 commissioners there to vote, and they did vote 4-0 to recommend approval of the zone changes to this body. I'll be available afterwards for questions. And I'll turn it over to the applicant's representative now.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for pulling up my presentation as well. Stacy Huggins with Wood Rogers, for the record, representing the applicant, Microsoft. Oh, sorry. That's okay. Are you controlling it or am I?
No, you.
Okay, just wasn't sure who I was gonna talk to if I needed to tell you. No problem. So some of you will recall that I was here a couple months ago seeking a zone change on the properties directly to the west of these 5 parcels. At the time, we were zone changing those parcels to the west of the blue outlined 5 parcels to service industrial. And so since then, Microsoft has acquired all of these properties, and the zone change that we're bringing forward today, oops, too fast, is in a concerted effort to make all of these properties appropriate for future development. So what you're going to see today, as is noted in the agenda description, we are seeking zone changes on the 5 parcels. The 2 on the top are zoned mobile home park. The 2 in the middle are zoned recreational vehicle park, and the one on the bottom is zoned C1 limited commercial. You can see on the table there on the bottom of this slide, none of those current zoning designations are compatible with the underlying existing commercial master plan designation. So the 2 on the top, we are certainly changing to a more compatible NC zoning category. And then the C1 is really just a transition to bring it up to the current Title 15 designation. So just so you can see comparison of the existing and the proposed zoning, again, the request to bring them all to neighborhood commercial under one property owner makes them a little bit easier to plan for future development on those 5 parcels that will be related likely to the development pending to the properties on the west. Just a quick list of some of the allowed uses that would be allowed under the new neighborhood commercial zoning on these 5 parcels. It really varies what types of uses would be allowed under that new zoning designation, but I don't think any of these will surprise you when you look at them. We have some utilitarian uses noted at the top: government offices, power transmission lines, power utility substations, a little more public safety facilities, indoor recreation, community centers, medical offices, and things of that nature. So fairly standard neighborhood commercial type uses in this area. Again, just to kind of summarize the proposed zoning, it does conform with the underlying commercial master plan designation. It creates an appropriate transition between that service industrial to the west and the residential that's to the north and the east. It establishes zoning across all of the parcels that are zoned by the same property or owned by the same property owner now.
Future development will be subject to Lyon County standards, so there'll have to be some buffering if this property is developed where adjacent to the residential zoning happens. And it is in line, the new zoning is in line and consistent with some of the specific policies in the master plan, following development patterns as established in the land use plan, provides a diverse economic base with this zoning district. And it supports business and industry in these areas. I went through that kind of quickly, but if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
Questions?
I have a statement.
You have a statement?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I wanted to thank Stacy for attending the Silver Springs advisory board. We don't always see that. She gets it. She knows that it's something that it's important to show up to the people, and I want to thank you for at least doing that. Normally, I bring to the point that access management on Highway 50 is a big concern of our area, but this particular parcel actually goes to the frontage road, so there isn't a concern there. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that there was no concern on the access.
Okay. No other questions? Do we have any public comment on this item? I don't believe so.
Chairman Huckabee, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the request for the zoning map amendment request by Microsoft Corporation to change the zoning on 5 parcels comprising approximately 30.88 acres in Silver Springs from RVP, Recreational Vehicle Park District, Mobile Home Park District, Limited Commercial District to Neighborhood Commercial in accordance with the existing master plan designation of commercial APNs 18-551-03, 81-551-4, 18-552-1, 18 also 18-552-02 and 015 144-04 PLZ 2023-002.
okay, with just that one correction on the second. 018 instead of 0.
Oh, yes, 018 on 018-551-04.
Roger that. Yes, Commissioner Keller, yeah, another comment. Okay, oh, you second?
Second.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 5-0. And hold for just a second. All right. Now on 18B, and I know that there's actually a secondary recommended, but I'll go ahead and read this and then I can read the secondary continuance. For possible action to approve a conditional use permit request from Blackcomb Property Group LLC to allow a self-storage / RV storage facility in the CC Community Commercial Zoning District on 1 3-acre parcel generally located to the southwest of the intersection of Dayton Valley Road and Como Road, west of the Carson River and US Highway 50 at 222 Dayton Valley Road in Dayton, APN 006-091-10 PLZ 2022-213. And 18B actually has a different recommendation. This is actually for continuance. So the actual recommendation to approve a continuance to May 4th, 2023 for a conditional use permit request from Blackcomb Property Group LLC to allow a self-storage RV storage facility in the CC Community Commercial Zoning District in 1 3-acre parcel generally located to the southwest of the intersection of Dayton Valley Road and Como Road, west of the Carson River and US Highway 50 at 222 Dayton Valley Road in Dayton, APN 006-091-10 PLZ 2022-213. So that's actually the recommended motion. for a continuance. Commissioner comments, questions? Or are you going to give a presentation on that? Or are we just going to go for a continuance?
No, sir. I'm just here on behalf of
Okay.
Senior Planner Bill Roth. Page 152 of the packet includes the request for continuance.
I just figured since we were going to approve a continuance, there wasn't much to talk about, but I will continue here with Commissioner Henderson.
No.
No, nothing.
Just public comment. I'll make a motion.
Okay, public comment. Okay, Commissioner Henderson, make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we approve the request for a continuance until May 4th. Is that it?
Correct.
Into this item until the May 4th County Commission meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, 5-0. We'll move on. Eighteen C for possible action to approve a request to extend the time period in which to record a final subdivision map or the first in a series of final subdivision maps by Stan Lucas for the Traditions Village 2 tentative subdivision map approved on May 2nd, 2019 for a total area of approximately 101.12 acres, including a maximum of 195 single-family residential lots on approximately 75.86 acres, plus 4 remainder parcels. Residential lots range in size from 9,000 square feet to over 22,000 square feet. The site is generally located northeast of Nevada Station Parkway and north of the US 50 Traditions Parkway intersection in Dayton, APN 016-406-13 PLZ 18-0013. Staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Louis Carriola, Community Development Director. The request for an extension to Village 2 of the Traditions residential tentative subdivision map is for a 2-year extension until May 5th, 2025. Just to sort of orient everyone, I'm sure you're aware, but just for the record, the subject parcels located in Dayton, north and west, I suppose, of Highway 50, access primarily from the Traditions Parkway intersection with Highway 50. Notably, the approved tentative map is not the entirety of the parcel, so the image on the right shows the actual subdivision. And then there's a remainder portion to the west there. That's part of, I believe, Village 1. As far as background, on May 2nd, 2019, the Board of Commissioners approved the initial tentative subdivision map for 195 single-family homes. Condition 1, standard language for Lyon County's tentative maps, and per Nevada code, within 4 years of the date of approval, the developer is to record the first in the series or the first final map. That date would be May 2nd, 2023. As such, the request for 2 years has been requested. The submittal materials indicate the reasoning being slowing of the housing market and the continued work on Traditions Village 1. They also went on in the submittal materials to indicate that they're anticipating moving forward with recording the final map this calendar year, specifically the next 6 months. As such, staff was able to make a recommendation to extend the request. And I'm available for any questions.
Questions? No questions from commissioners. Do we have any questions from the public? Comments from the public? Nope. I think we're ready for a motion on 18C.
I'll make a motion that the Lyon County Board of Commissioners approve the request by Project 1 for a 2-year extension of time, May 2nd, 2025, to record the final subdivision map or first in a series of final subdivision maps for the Tradition Village 2 subdivision, APN 016-406-13 and PLZ 2023-11.
Second.
Okay,
Comment.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have to make a comment here that I find it ironic that we're being asked to grant a a extension on a project for a developer that has sued us in the past for supposedly we delayed their projects. I just find that ironic. So I just wanted to make that point.
It's a good point.
Any other good comments? All right, and I will, excuse me, look for a vote on this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And we are good on that one. So now we're at the end of the planning applications. Thank you, Mr. Coriola. Commission and advisory boards. 19A for possible action, acknowledge resignation of Greg Clausen from the Lyon County Planning Commission. We have a letter of resignation. We have a motion to acknowledge the
Chairman
resignation.
Hockaday, I'll make a motion that we acknowledge or accept the resignation from Greg Clausen from the Lyon County Planning Commission.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those, well, I should say possible action. Do we have any public comment? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Move on to 19B. For possible action, appoint a member to the Planning Commission with a term expiring December 31st, 2026. And any commissioner comments, input?
If I could.
Yep, Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank staff for putting together the information that was included in the agenda package showing where planning projects have been brought before the Planning Commission from which neighborhoods, and also the makeup of the current makeup of the Planning Commission. Yeah, I certainly appreciate this, and actually in the future would like to see maybe quarterly reports of what projects and something similar to this, maybe on a quarterly basis. But that's my only comment.
Commissioners, any other comments? I wanted to make the same statement. I thought it was very helpful to actually see the information. I'm glad that that was brought up by commissioners in the very near past. So does give us a little bit more input. Having said that, I'm going to make a motion to appoint, and of course, people understand I'm going to make the motion to appoint. We'll take a vote. If the vote doesn't go through, then of course we will regroup and make another motion to appoint. But my motion to appoint at this meeting will be to appoint Mark Hamilton Jones to the Planning Commission. And that will be for the term expiring December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Okay, so I have my motion and Commissioner Henderson second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nay.
Okay. I had 4 ayes, 1 nay. All right, congratulations, Mr. Jones. We'll go to 19C for possible action, acknowledge resignation from Darlene Sinette Diffenbaugh from the Animal Control Advisory Board. Have a motion to accept the resignation.
Mr. Chair, I move that we acknowledge the resignation of Darlene Sinette Diffenbach from the Animal Control Advisory Board.
Second.
Okay. Do I have any commissioner comments on this? Looking to thank her for her work with the Animal Advisory Board. Any public comment? Doesn't look like any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Don't have any there, so we've got a 5-0 on that one. For possible action, appoint up to 2 members to the Fair Board with terms expiring December 31st, 2026.
19D.
Or did I skip? Oh, I'm sorry. Appoint a member to the animal. Yeah, I guess if you get rid of one, you got to add none. Yeah. Appoint a member to the Animal Control Advisory Board with a term expiring December 31st, 2024. We have a letter from Amber Nelson. Do I have a motion to appoint Amber?
Make a motion to appoint.
Second.
Okay. Any public input or commissioner comments? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll go to the next one. Appoint up to 2 members to the Fair Board with terms expiring December 31st, 2026. We only have one member application, Paul Silva. Do I have a motion to appoint Paul Silva?
Mr. Chair, I move that we appoint Paul Silva to the Fair Board with a term expiring December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Second by Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I did have one final comment on that, and looking at that list, and I do again appreciate the list. I noticed that we did have one term expiring 12/22. And we had 2 vacancies, so we really should look into that, see how we need to alleviate that term that expired already. So let's go on to 19F for possible action. Acknowledge resignation from Margaret Peggy Quigg from the Lyon County Library Board of Trustees. She's done a lot of work and is moving out of the area, so motion to acknowledge or accept her resignation.
Mr. Chair, I move that we acknowledge the resignation of Margaret Peggy Quigg from the Lyon County Library Board of Trustees.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Any comments from anybody on this? Other than to thank her so much for all of her help and wish her luck in her move.
Where's she going?
I think she was going over to Washoe. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, where are we on time? 11:13. County manager reports for possible action, authorize and select county commissioners and our county manager to attend the 2023 NACO National Association of Counties Annual Conference and Exposition in Travis County, Austin, Texas, July 2021 through 2023. Boy, that's a mouthful. For an approximate cost of $3,500 per person. I requested this because we do have to look into whether we want to attend or not. And I also asked the county manager, and I believe he has some other things going on. So we're looking basically at county commissioners that want to volunteer to go to Austin, Texas, even though they're short 150 police officers.
Mr. Chair, I would be interested.
You would like
I'd be
to go?
interested too.
You'd like to go?
Yeah.
And I would like to go.
You'd like to go? So
Anybody else?
authorize 3.
Yeah, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager for the record. I would prefer not to go on this one. That happens to fall on my wife's birthday, so.
You're a smart man.
For political reasons, it'd be best if I don't.
So it doesn't bother me not to go at all. So I would say if I have a motion to authorize and select Keller, Hendricks, and Henderson, then we can do that.
Was that a motion?
I'll make the motion to authorize. I was looking for a motion, but I will certainly make a motion to authorize and select Commissioners Keller, Commissioner Hendricks, and Commissioner Henderson to attend the 2023 NACO National Association of Counties Annual Conference and Exposition in Travis County, Austin, Texas, July 21st through the 24th, 2023, for an approximate cost of $3,500 per person.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Chairman Hockaday, just a comment, I struggle with sending 3. So I'll be voting nay on this.
Okay. I will also be voting nay, but that'll come up quick here. All those in favor? Well, I should say, let's go ahead and have some comment. We've got your comment, we've got my comment, any public comment. If that's the case, then I will look for a motion. I've already got the motion. I need a vote on this. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
So at this point, we're going to have that pass.
I do want to make a comment on that.
Okay, go ahead.
When it comes to attending these NACO conferences, if you haven't ever been to one or haven't experienced it, it's what you want to make of it. It's each individual commissioner can decide whether or not they need or want the experience and also what it offers. It's not just a thing to go. You get a lot out of it, in my opinion. It helps me doing my job. So I will always attend the NACO conferences, or at least apply for them.
May I make a comment?
Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I couldn't agree more with Commissioner Keller. Yeah, attendance at these national events are vital to us. It helps us grow as commissioners. It also helps us to communicate with our colleagues from across the country. I'm pretty much a firm believer that there are no new problems. There are just problems you haven't had yet. And at these conferences, you'll probably find somebody that's had it and you might be able to shortcut a solution. So this is an investment in the professional development of our commission. And I certainly support us being very active in national NACO events.
Any other comments?
Yeah, Commissioner, Chairman Hockaday, thank you. I don't think my voting nay was not in agreement with this. I just question whether we need 3 going. Thank you.
And having attended NACO conference, the one in Denver, I do agree. They're very beneficial. You do get a chance to talk to a lot of different people across country. And I totally agree with Commissioner Henderson on that. Lots of information. I also have talked to the county manager that because the auditoriums wherever we go are just full of gadgets and all kinds of stuff. I have no clue what it all does, but maybe IT at some point in the future, especially if we have anything close by, should be going and seeing what other types of computer programs and things that might help us out in the future to actually save money for the county on new different programs. So that was kind of my comment, but we'll move on then to 20B for possible action to discuss and provide direction to the county manager regarding legislation for the 82nd session of the Nevada Legislature. Legislation includes Senate Bill for today, Senate Bill 421, Senate Bill 432, Senate Bill 338, and Senate Bill 233. You're on.
All right, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager for the record. Yeah, so we've all been reading a ton of bills through this session. I try to bring bills forward for the board to take a position on that affect the board's power. It either takes a power away, a decision away from the board, or forces the board to make decisions and, in favor of something that may or may not be, the board may or may not be in favor of. So got 4 bills here to discuss today. The first one actually doesn't fall into that category. It is regarding taxation, and it's SB 233. And actually, I'm going to have our assessor come up, Mr. Blinds, and talk about Senate Bill 233, and then we'll move on to the other 3 that I have.
Just one quick comment, Mr. Haskin. I looked at all of these bills, and in my opinion, they all do reduce county authority or our income in one way or another. And anytime they start slashing out county commissioner on any of this legislation, I start getting very, very upset over it. And then when you look at it and say, well, we're going to have abatements that we're going to now take control of, and you're not going to get the money. And so, as I said, looking through these, I was very, very disappointed in the legislation.
Yeah.
Good morning, Trevor Lyons, Lyon County Assessor for the record. Mr. Haskins asked me to speak to SB 233. So the first hearing took place Thursday. in attendance was the Nevada Assessors Association, who was in opposition of this bill, and also NACO spoke in their opposition as well. Brief summary of this bill. SB 233 is an act relating to taxation, providing for the imposition, administration, collection, and enforcement of a tax on the rental of certain heavy equipment, excluding certain heavy equipment from tax on personal property, and providing penalties and providing other matters properly relating thereto. Firstly, I just would like to say that I don't believe this tax is fair and equitable. Article 10, Section 1 of the Nevada Constitution establishes that legislators shall provide by law for a uniform and equal rate of assessment and prescribe regulations which result in a just valuation for taxation of all property. Currently, businesses that lease equipment, including everything from heavy equipment to copiers and office equipment, and to county and state, agencies, participate in a reporting and a billing cycle at the county level of their entire inventory. Under this new and very complex bill, and it is very complex, there's a lot in this bill, so I'm just going to try to speak to the meat of it. So under this new and very complex bill, this reporting would change heavy equipment, change for heavy equipment leasing companies. Companies would be charged a 2% of leasing fees. Current property tax rates in Lyon County range from 2.6 to 3.66% and are based on the depreciated purchase of the equipment. In my opinion, the proposed method violates the uniform and equal rate of assessment describing Nevada's Constitution, and also Nevada Revised Statute 361, which guides my office on valuation for taxation purposes. This bill is being presented as a streamlined tax, which is an effort by state and local governments and the private sector to simplify and modernize sales and use tax collection and administration. When in reality, it's an excise tax, a legislated tax on specific goods or services at the time that they were purchased. The BDR indicates that this is a revenue neutral, meaning the exact same amount of property tax revenue is projected for the upcoming budget year as for the current year. The proponents of this BDR in their testimony provided no proof of that whatsoever. This bill has a trickle-down tax revenue distribution that starts with the rental company collecting the 2% excise tax and reporting that amount to the Department of Taxation. And this is how it starts getting really complex. Then the Department of Taxation will likely have to create a new division to process these reports and collect and distribute the taxes. The tax collections, which would then be put into a bank account created specifically for the purpose of this bill, and then quarterly distributed amongst the county treasurers for dispersal among the taxing districts. A few problems associated with this bill. There are now, as most of you probably already know, there are no large equipment rental properties in Lyon County that I'm aware of, such as United Rentals. Those ones that I'm aware of in Reno, Carson City, and I think Gardnerville has one as well, which means the originating 2% fee would go back to the county of origin that the rental took place. In its current form, Lyon County would be losing large amounts of revenue based on some larger heavy equipment counts that I shared with Josh. Mr. Foley's computations of revenue loss for the fiscal year of 23-24 is at about 37,500, and I think there's a SB 233 fiscal note that was also included. 24-25 at about 137,500, and future subsequent years as much as $270,000 annually. There was also testimony given that this has the potential to have a reduction in revenue for 911 services as well. So with that, I'll try to answer any questions that you have on this.
Commissioner Keller.
So I was listening to the committee hearing when they were doing this, and what I understood is that if I have a big company, say a mining company or something like that in Lyon County, and if this was to go through, then right now you get property tax on that or personal tax on that. But once it switches to an excise tax, then all I have to do is as long as I keep it within the arm reach of my own company, I can rent to my own company. And therefore it's no longer personal tax and it goes into an excise tax at that point. And so we can get to the cheaper part of it, right? And so we can move stuff around. So that concerns me. And the fact that we don't have rentals now, it is going to be a fact that we're going to have rentals, I would imagine, as we grow. So it could still impact us negatively at that point too. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are there any other businesses in this state that are exempt from personal property tax?
Other than state and county,
Thank you. I agree with your view on the violation of the Constitution.
Commissioner Hendrickson.
No, I agree with it too.
Commissioner Davidson. Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
I'll now enjoy one of your.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
So Chairman Huckabee,
Yes.
so you will formulate a letter opposing this, or what's that step?
So
Just so that everybody's understood.
Yeah, so Andrew Haskin for the record. So what we'll do, after we take a vote on this, I'll forward our position on these to our lobbyist. So generally our lobbyist responds for us. However, some of these I do go and testify for or against, depending on our position. So that would be, I'd prepare some statements and head on down to the legislature. So.
Thank you.
So we want to discuss a vote on this, or we want to go on with all of them and then pick out how would you like to proceed with your upkeep on this? Legislation?
My recommendation would be to go through all four of them and then do one vote. If that's okay, we can discuss it afterwards.
You have a question on that?
Well, just for the purpose of making the final motion, can we get a consensus on the board of what we're formulate the motion?
Like we did the first time.
Yeah.
Each one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just,
So I'm gonna be opposing this bill.
okay. Commissioner,
I'll be opposing as well.
I'll be opposing.
Me too.
So.
Me three.
Yeah. Five in opposition. We'll move on to the next one then.
All right, Senate Bill 338. This is an act relating to off-highway vehicles, revising provisions relating to the operation of certain off-highway vehicles on certain streets and highways, authorizing the commission on off-highway vehicles to designate a portion of certain highways for use by off-highway vehicles, revising certain duties of an operator of an off-highway vehicle being driven on a highway, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. So this bill does fall within that theme, in that it takes this power away from the Board of County Commissioners and gives it to a state commission that would get to determine which roads off-highway vehicles could or could not be used on.
Mr. Chair, so I want to make this very clear. So this takes power away from an elected governing body and elected local governing body, and gives it to an appointed state agency.
Correct, yeah, and that's the gist of it. I mean, there's another section in there that would require helmets. There's a few things regarding that. I think the helmets requirements just on highways, but
Highways, yeah.
yeah, but still, it makes some changes to state law on this one. So, given that it takes the power away from the board, yeah, figured I'd bring it to you. Get your take on it. I think it should stay locally myself.
Commissioner Kelly.
This one gets filed under disaster, in my opinion. Another thing, they also changed the terminology and change it from all-terrain vehicle to utility vehicle, which is the equivalent of a golf cart. We could be riding right alongside a non-registered golf cart at 45 miles an hour down the road. And to me, it's just stupid. Whoever came up with this didn't think it through.
I totally agree with all of that because looking at this and saying we can't drive on anything with a speed limit over 45 miles an hour. So I can't basically leave my property and go 4 miles up the property to a friend's house when I go up to help them do things. So, I mean, it just all across the board, it is a disaster. Any other comments that? Right. We want to just take a kind of vote on this one real quick.
In opposition.
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 All right, so we got 5 opposed on 338. We'll move on.
All right, Senate Bill 421. This is an act relating to energy, revising provisions governing partial tax abatements for certain renewable energy facilities. Revising provisions governing the integrated resource plan of an electric utility, revising provisions governing permits for the construction of utility facilities, establishing certain requirements for the Board of County Commissioners of certain counties relating to commercial solar energy facilities, requiring the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Growth and Infrastructure to conduct a study concerning a statewide renewable energy plan and other matters properly relating thereto. So this one was worded kind of tricky at the beginning of it because it said notwithstanding any other existing provision of state law or the existence of any zoning commission or regional planning commission, and except as otherwise provided in federal law, a board of county commissioners may establish requirements for the construction, deconstruction, decommissioning of a commercial solar energy facility in accordance with the provisions of section 7 to 15 inclusive of this act. So it seems like it's enabling, but when you go to the further sections, it says the requirements established by the Board of County Commissioners pursuant to subsection 1 may not be more stringent than the requirements set forth in section 7 to 15 inclusive. So you can go less strict than what they've provided here, but not more. And so going through what they have included in section 14 specifically, pretty much all of those setback requirements are less stringent than what we have currently. So we would have to do a new ordinance. Section 3 there says that any ordinance or regulation that conflicts with or is more stringent than the provisions of section 7 to 15 inclusive of this act is null and void, and the Board of County Commissioners shall repeal any such ordinance or regulation. So there's the setback requirements. There's a number of different things in here that I think are contradictory to our current code. And again, it takes power away from the Board of County Commissioners, packaging it as something that gives you the authority to do so.
Commissioner Keller.
So at the NACO board, we were on public lands, we were discussing the fact that we should probably, as a board, look over how to, when we bond these properties. The amount of money it takes to, because it's hazardous waste. And now the landfills aren't going to be taking them. It's like one county was thinking $50 per panel. And when you start adding that up and remove all the concrete and stuff, that's what we're going to have to look at with extending it. So we, as a board, we're probably going to have to revisit that. But also we got to set it to where when they dispose of it, it's 20 years down the road, or it could be 5 just because of new technology. You don't know the distance, but we have to look back at that. And they would be able to tell us, no, we can't do anything like that with this bill. So we would be stuck as a hazardous waste in this county big time.
So the bonding issue is something that we are for sure going to be taking a look at, because that is something that is coming up across the board. These facilities have a lifespan, and if you don't have some kind of capacity to decommission them towards the end of their lifespan, we could be stuck with a pretty nasty eyesore. So, and that, essentially there wouldn't be any recourse. So I agree with you 100%.
So I'll be opposing this.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree completely with the possibility of the county being responsible for square miles of decommissioned solar projects. But I look at this bill as just another attempt or another incursion by state government and local land planning uses. And we have to oppose every one of those bills. It's kind of, in a way, this reminds me of Senate Bill 81. You know, it's the state forcing local governments to do things the way the state wants it. And they have no business in land planning, sorry.
I agree.
You can always look at.
So you can't tell I'm opposed.
Yeah. You can always look at Solyndra and all of the waste they left behind when they abandoned their ship. Okay.
Yep.
Any other comments here on 421? So I'll go down the line again.
Opposition.
Opposed.
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 Okay, that was a simple one there. I figured it would be 5 again, and then we're at 432.
All right, saving the worst for last, but Senate Bill 432, an act relating to economic development, revising provisions governing the disposition of certain taxes, requiring the establishment of a regional powers authority following the expiration of certain partial tax abatements approved in relation to a qualified project, establishing the powers and duties of the Regional Powers Authority, creating the account to mitigate the regional impacts of economic development, imposing reporting requirements related to the use of certain money, creating the account to promote statewide economic development, and providing other matters properly related. So this one is the one that is aimed at the Tesla abatements in Story County. This bill applies to all counties, though, in which a company has invested $1 billion and received tax abatements. So it would, you know, this would apply to all future projects as well. And what this does is it takes the sales and use tax, the personal all property tax, because those would be subject to real and personal property tax, excuse me, and modified business tax that is created after the tax abatements have expired, and redistributes those taxes. So 60% goes to the account to mitigate the regional impacts of economic development. 20% would go to the state treasurer for credit to the account to promote statewide economic development. And only 20% of that tax revenue would come to the county in which the project is located. If the project crosses a county line, then that tax revenue would be distributed equally between the two counties, regardless of what percentage of the project is in which county. There's many challenges with this one. You know, for one thing, it's like I said, directly aimed at Story County and the Tesla tax abatements that were approved in 2014. That was a deal that the state had made with the counties and with the government, or with the company. And now this bill would change that deal substantially. You know, in my opinion, that Story County kind of went out on a limb. They changed a lot of their code and made it easier for companies to come in, and you know, they took on that risk, and so I don't see a reason why they should be now punished because of that. My goal is to learn from Story County, take the stuff that they did that was good as a part of that process, and try to attract new businesses to Lyon County. So I think that this is a bad bill for us, because we want to try and attract these types of enterprises where it makes sense. This bill also establishes a regional powers authority. So this is another one taking power away from the Board of County Commissioners and giving it to a new authority. So essentially, the Board of County Commissioners would get to appoint 2 members to that regional powers authority, but then 5 members would be appointed by the Governor's Office of Economic Development. And those would be consisting of members from the neighboring counties based on the percentage of employees of the project that live in those counties. It's yeah, I mean, it's really not great. The purpose of the Regional Powers Authority is to direct allocations of the money from the account to mitigate the regional impacts of economic development created by Section 13 of this act, to mitigate the impact of a qualified project on housing, transportation, education, water, wastewater, and power in the region surrounding the qualified project. So really, this bill is short-sighted. I mean, in the short term, I think that Lyon County would get some additional revenue out of this, but in the long term, it is far more detrimental to the county. And so.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I've been involved with the legislature since 2007, and this is one of the worst bills I have ever seen. I don't okay, first of all, I have a problem with the whole way abatements are granted anyway. Because the state grants the abatements, but they abate local government taxes and they carve the state out and they carve the school districts out. Okay, I get that. But then to come back after you have abated taxes for a company, and when those abatements expire, they say, oh, well, that money's not going to go to the county whose Board of County Commissioners imposed the tax. We're going to take that revenue and give it to other entities. It's outright theft. There's no other word for it. I was told by a member of the governor's office that I fully didn't understand the concept. But to me, taking money that belongs to somebody and give it to somebody else, that's a pretty easy concept to understand. That this is a dangerous bill. The precedent sets is bad. And as we continue to develop the NIC, we could be subject to this.
Absolutely, and it opens the door for other such bills.
It's terrible. It's a bad bill.
That lower that threshold, right?
Commissioner Keller.
So the only thing that they're really not telling you is that it's just a money grab from one spot to another. So we just approved something for Microsoft in Silver Springs. And I don't know why we should encourage to bring people like that into our county if this passes. Because all they're going to do is impact our county, make us broke, and they're going to take all the money. So we can't take care of our roads and everything else. So it's going to change our whole economic pattern of how we do business. And that we have to really reconsider. So this is a really bad bill. I mean, what can you say?
Nope.
So we'll do a quick down the line again on this one before we go to public comment.
Oppose.
Oppose.
Hate.
Tell us what you really think. Okay.
Make a motion.
Okay, let me see if we have any public comment. Usually we do, but I don't see anything there. Anybody needed to comment here can step up. All right, then I am ready for a motion.
Motion to direct the county manager on behalf of the Lyon County Board of Commissioners to oppose Senate Bills 233, 338, 421, and 432 submitted during the 82nd session of the Nevada legislature.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Keller, a second by Commissioner Henderson. All those in favor of opposing these bills, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody love them? Okay.
Just a quick
Yeah.
comment. Do we have any good bills out there? Just checking.
Yeah, so I need to do a broader presentation on some of the other bills that we've responded to. So typically with bills that affect a certain department or affect the county operationally, we'll take care of that at the staff level. And then bills that are more policy based, or affect the board directly, we'll bring those to you. So I need to do a broader presentation on kind of some of our positions on that. But yes, there are plenty of bills that we have supported.
Yeah, I just say that whenever the legislation is in session, we're all in danger.
Amen.
Well, there's 3 gun bills up today.
And to Commissioner Keller's, to Commissioner Keller's comment, there may be a few good bills out there, but I guarantee you they're well outnumbered.
Yeah. So at this point, we're at item 21. My question is, so it's 11:45. I know we have probably at least an hour left. Staff probably would like to go to lunch. So I would like to propose to the commission here that we take lunch from now until 1.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
That's good with me.
Everybody okay with that? Then let's take lunch. We'll adjourn until 1 o'clock.
Shelby, yeah. Shelby and the city need your vote.
Okay. We're gonna get started again here. Yep. Gonna get going here. At 1 o'clock. Gonna get going.
Probably should make someone.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock and we're going to get started again with the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners for the 6th of April. We are on item 21A for the comptroller. And that would be for possible action, approve critical labor shortage designations for the building inspector and plans examiner positions. So building inspector and plans examiner findings.
Again,
It's always 1 second after we need them.
I have got to get a recording of apples and flourishes.
Josh Floyd, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record. I apologize. I was late. I was coordinating candy for Mondays.
Excuses accepted.
Yeah, you're right.
So this is a position that due to the market out there, both of these positions we're worried that we're having significant challenges finding them. We need to get them implemented before the contract ends on June 30th. So under state law, we're allowed to have the board declare a critical labor shortage, which expands the pool of people that we can get applying to people who have previously retired from PERS, and they don't have to stop drawing their PERS, but they can continue to work for the county if that's an option.
Questions?
No question.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. And it's my understanding this is no cost or no additional cost to the county, except we might be paying a little bit more for expertise.
True, you would traditionally hire someone a little higher in the
Which
range. Yes,
doesn't, I mean, the pros probably weigh the cons on something like that, so. And it's I'm just a little surprised that we can declare that as a shortage and it doesn't have to be something that the state acknowledges in their.
the state will acknowledge it. We will send it to the state and they have to take action.
Right, that's,
You declare.
if that's no other further comments, I'll make a motion.
Okay, public comment. Don't see any. Okay, motion. That'll be-
Chairman Hockaday, I'd like to approve critical labor shortage designations for the building inspector and plans examiner positions.
Have a second.
Second.
Hey, Richard Jacobson, motion and second by Commissioner Keller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass 5-0. Thank you. District Attorney for possible action approved settlement agreement to resolve lawsuit filed by Stanley H. Lucas against Lyon County et al. Related to the Traditions Village subdivision wherein Lyon County waives depreciation payment from Stanley H. Lucas of $208,044, $200,801.44, and agrees to pay $25,000 to Stanley H. Lucas to resolve all claims with no parties admitting liability. And the county will receive $75,000 to offset the depreciation waiver. The funding for the settlement is paid by the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool. And what do we have? Anything on that? Okay.
He's online.
Charlie's on
Online.
there. If we
Yeah.
can. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm unmuted.
Yeah,
Can
is
can
unmuted.
everybody hear me? And can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Charlie Bertram, attorney, Thorndale Armstrong Law Firm. District Attorney Steve Rye couldn't make it today, so asked me to present this agenda item. This agenda item relates to a development, or actually two development applications that Stan Lucas, who we heard about earlier today, made back in 2021 regarding a 43 unit kind of subdivision in the larger Traditions development. It was called the Villages at the Traditions. Mr. Lucas requested, or they had the development applications. There were two of them. One was for a zone change for this 43 unit, which was on about 8 or 9 acres. And it was actually a zone change from more dense to less dense, which is kind of the opposite way that it normally works. And then there was also an application for a tentative map. Those went through the regular planning avenues, and it came before the board. And I'm not sure, I think Commissioner Henderson was on the board, and I'm not sure anybody else that's currently on the board was on that board. At any rate, it came up for discussion on April 1st, 2021. There was considerable confusion about the way it was presented by the Lucas folks. And also the zone change caused a lot of confusion because, again, it was going from more dense to less dense, which is kind of the opposite way these things normally work. At any rate, it was denied. The zone change was approved. The tentative map was denied. I believe it was a 4-to-1 vote. That resulted in two separate legal proceedings filed by the Lucas folks. One legal proceeding was a petition for judicial review. And the second was a complaint for civil damages against not only the county, but also the 5 commissioners individually who voted. Now, including the one, it was a 4-to-1 vote, including the one dissenting vote, that commissioner was also sued. So I was retained through the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool to address both of those cases. The petition for judicial review was fully briefed, and Judge Abistrary in, I believe, the latter part of 21, granted that petition and basically said, hey, the denial of the tentative map was arbitrary and capricious without a basis. And again, there was a lot of confusion at the hearing, no question about it. And anyway, ordered a reversal. And then this board considered that tentative map again in the latter part of 21 and approved it. And so that case basically went away with the approval of the 43 unit tentative map. The civil case continued, which I continued to address. The Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool, under their coverage determination, was providing a defense, but no indemnity for damages. And there were a variety of claims made, civil rights claims, equal protection, free speech, and a whole bunch of other things, just a real laundry list of claimed damages and claimed legal theories. So the case did not actively, there wasn't a whole lot of active litigation in it. And then last fall, I decided, well, I got to do something here. So I sent out some very, very extensive discovery to the Lucas folks and to their subcontractors, a whole bunch of other people, and just try to get documents and get background information regarding their damage claim, because they were claiming a lot of damages, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when I sent all that out, I received communications from the Lucas attorneys saying, hey, let's see if we can resolve this thing. So a number of settlement discussions occurred. There were, I think, 2 that were out in Dayton at the Lyon County facility there. And eventually, retired judge David Gamble, who was a judge over in Douglas County for 25 years, and since retired, agreed to mediate the case, which we did. And as a result, and I believe it was, well, Commissioner Henderson was there for the representing the county, the commissioners. And I do want to commend Commissioner Henderson. I've gotten to know him a little bit in these proceedings, and he was just wonderful to work with. And I think had some great ideas. And at the end of the day, we kind of hammered out an agreement where the public agency insurance pool, even though they aren't covering damages, agreed to pay $100,000 towards a global resolution of the case. The Lucas people wanted, and it gets pretty deep into the weeds, but this depreciation issue that's mentioned in the settlement agreement related to certain utility infrastructure that had been put in 15 years ago or so by a prior owner, and then that project basically halted due to the Great Recession. And so the question was whether or not they would get a credit for the use of the for the depreciated lifespan of some of that infrastructure. So at any rate, at the end of the day, an agreement was reached among the group, subject to the board approval, obviously, that's basically outlined in the agenda item, in the verbiage of the agenda item, which I drafted. Steve Ryan and I co-drafted it, but anyway, that accurately states what basically happened. And one of the big concerns was that the pool didn't cover damages in this case. And the Lucas people, even though I don't think there was a real good basis for a lot of the stuff, we're claiming a lot of damages, plus attorney's fees, which under law they would be entitled to recover. And they claimed that their attorney's fees at the time were over $100,000. So at any rate, on the basis of all that, this agreement was reached, and the terms are set forth in the settlement agreement. This would, and again, the insurance pool is funding $100,000, with 75,000 of that, with only 25 going to the Lucas folks, 75,000 coming back to the county, which is a very unusual. I mean, I've been doing this 30 some odd years, and that's a very unusual way to do it. And I'm glad that the insurance pool is doing that, because it really defrays a lot of the costs and other things in the litigation. And also it helps with the depreciation issue. So that's the base, those are the basic terms. It results in a complete and total release of all claims, Lucas against the county, and also against the individual commissioners who were individually sued in the case. So that's the basic premise. As I said, Commissioner Henderson walked with us through the entire process, and was a very valuable help in reaching this. It's one of those things that it's kind of a resolution of a lawsuit. I do a lot of mediations, and so I as a mediator, and so I'm always cognizant of the fact that, gee, you don't get everything you want, and you get more or you get less, whatever. This, I believe, in as legal counsel, is a very good resolution to the overall legal dispute that's, as I said, it's been going on for 2 years, and we put an end to it, and it would just release everybody so that the pall of the thing hanging over everybody's head is all gone. So anyway, that's the basic parameters of it. I'm welcome to entertain any questions anybody might have. I've been dealing with this for 2 years. So I'm the font of all knowledge, so to speak.
Questions from the commissioner for Mr. Burcham?
Good comment.
Comment from Commissioner Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Burcham. Glad to see you. This was an interesting process to go through. There are times when I really want to just dig our heels in the sand and say no. That we have a case that we should go ahead and fight, but listening to people that are way smarter than me, including Charlie, and Charlie explained that reading between the lines of the judge's ruling in October of 21, that we were probably not on good standing to continue the case. I think this is the best resolution that we could have come to, and I just want to thank everybody involved for working through the process.
Thank you. Anybody else up here? Public comment? Nothing? Okay, I think, oh, we have a public comment. All right, didn't see you jump up.
For the record, my name is Don Smith. I represent Mr. Lucas, and I just want to thank Commissioner Henderson for his work, Charlie's work on this, David's work on this. We have a lot of great things we want to do in Dayton. We're very, very happy that this is behind us and we can all start to work together in a collaborative atmosphere. So thank you. If you do endorse this, but thank you for your time. And again, we appreciate Commissioner Henderson's work with us on this, and we just want to move forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate the comment. All right,
If you're ready.
I'm ready for a motion. Go for it.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a settlement agreement to resolve a lawsuit filed by Stanley H. Lucas against Lyon County et al. Related to Traditions Villages subdivision, wherein Lyon County waives depreciation payment from Stanley H. Lucas of $200,801.44 and agrees to pay $25,000 to Stanley H. Lucas to resolve all claims with no parties admitted liability. That's it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Henderson and a second by Commissioner Jacobson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? 5-0 on that vote, and we will resolve that and move that piece of paper to the side.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too look forward to having this behind us and for us to continuing to work with Lucas and Project One, because they do have some awesome plans for the Dayton area. And I hope we can now work collaboratively going forward.
Can I
Okay.
make a comment?
Thank you. Did you have any? Okay, Commissioner Ellis.
I did vote yes on this subject. But it was begrudgingly. I wasn't for it in any way, shape, or form, except that I don't want to continue this moving forward. That's the only reason why I said yes, is because of that. If I would have voted no, it wouldn't have done any different on the vote, but I voted yes.
All right. That it? All right, then we're going to go on to the clerk treasurer report, item 23A for possible action to approve resolution for county investment policy. The Lyon County Investment Policy, FHN Maine. And you're going to tell us all about it.
Okay, Stacy Lindbergh, Lyon County Clerk Treasurer for the record. I put the resolution that I have attached to the agenda has some typo errors. I need to correct those first and then I'll explain. The security of principal risk that is underlined on the first page, about 3/4 ways down, should not have been there. That is going to be removed. And the permitted investments should have an underline. So that, taking into an account, we had this resolution drawn. We had an investment policy in place that was done years back, but upon recommendation from Josh and our investment advisors, we wanted to clarify it, to be more specific and provide direction to our investment company, and mainly give us the opportunity to invest in FDIC and insured CDs, because they're raising the interest rates right now, have given us some incredible investment opportunities that we haven't had in the past.
And your backup does have it lined out and underlined as you stated, so we are good on that.
Yep.
Our backup is correct. And I would like to read the resolution just so people in the county and here do know what we're talking about. It says, whereas Lyon County has sums of money available for investment, and whereas the state of Nevada pursuant to Nevada Revised Statute 355 has set the requirements for investment accounts, and whereas it may be necessary to make investments on a day-to-day basis. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the Lyon County Treasurer is directed to abide by the following Lyon County investment policy, which is county funds and trusts and agency funds held by the county are to be invested for maximum security of principal, with secondary emphasis on achieving the highest return while meeting the daily cash flow needs in the treasurer's discretion. Any type of investment authorized by Nevada Revised Statute 355 is allowed. The treasurer will determine the specific banks, investment houses, brokerage firms, and other financial institutions which should be used in pursuing Lyon County's investment program. I do see Mr. Foley here, and whenever he's backing up something, I always say we're okay with it. I do trust you also, Tracy or Stacy, but the two of you working together, I feel very confident that the county's in good hands. Thank you for all your work on this. And Mr. Foley, thank you for all your work on this. So, having read all of that stuff, do I have a motion? I should say, is there a public comment real quick?
Comment from the board.
And the board comment? Board comment, go ahead.
So I was looking at this. This is just we're referring to change something that's previously been adopted already by a certain date, not replacing the whole resolution, or are we replacing the whole resolution? I mean, the whole, so it'll all be new dated.
And it basically just clarifies what the NRS, because the original one, and Jeff can correct me, basically just gave the guidelines that we're going to invest for the NRS. And this kind of just breaks it down and more clarifies it to exactly what we're going to be investing in compliance with that NRS.
So I have no problem with that. I was just wondering where this sits and what policy and everything else. Should that have been on this, to what we're.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. So you are adopting a policy by resolution. And as you do that, it automatically replaces the previous policy that you had adopted. Does that answer the question you were asking?
And in her in Lyon County Code,
It's not in code, it's just.
it's just in policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions here, commissioners, the public? I don't see anything to be brought up.
I guess
Yeah.
Chairman Hockaday, I
ahead.
guess when I was reading through this, the question came to my mind, what if the general public wanted to see where some of this money was invested? Is there some transparency there, or is that?
Yes, and actually, right now, most of it is in the LGIP, and we've asked them to provide us monthly reports in comparison with LGIP versus where we're investing now, to show the gains, just to show clarity. And
Thank you.
Any other good questions? Good. Then I'll look for a motion on this.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt a resolution establishing a Lyon County investment policy.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Henderson and a second by Commissioner Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes 5-0. No nays. We're going to move down. We've already done 24A. We're going to go to 24B for possible action. Okay, do you want? We take a quick break. We'll just take a quick break. I do want him to be in here. 5 minutes. Yes. All right, we're back then. Moving right along, we're at 24B for possible action, approve an agreement with the Walker River Irrigation District to lease 29.9459 acre feet of Lyon County Fairground, Inc. stored water rights until October 31st, 2023 for $147 per each acre foot. And I believe we will have a little bit of a discussion here from Mr. Foley at how this works.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. The fairgrounds had its own well at one time, actually probably still does, but we have water rights associated with that, but we're using city water since we're connected there. So we have the water rights that basically, if we don't use them in a certain number of years, they go away. This is one way that we can use them by basically selling the water that's going to go downstream so that it continues to go downstream, but we get money for it. And we've done this on a periodic basis in the past.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions? Yes. Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chairman Hockaday. I guess so. and forgive my ignorance on this, but the Walker River Irrigation District or some other entity, you can't bank those water rights. You either have to let them go to somebody else.
So basically, think of it as we're leasing those water rights for the year, not taking them, but leasing them to the irrigation district, who has a third-party buyer that will buy them. And it actually happens to be a party of the federal government that is wanting the water to go down to Walker Lake, so it doesn't actually get used for irrigation.
So it seems like the feds sometimes stick it to us. Can't we stick it to them with a little bit higher than 147?
It is, that rate is set by that.
The rate, the feds set their own rate.
The feds set their own rate. Thank you, Harry Reid, right?
All right. I just curious on that. So you can't open it up for bid to some other ranchers that may want it.
We could, this year, good luck on.
Yeah, I got you there.
So,
Water everywhere.
yes,
Commissioner Keller,
Supply and demand.
yeah.
go ahead.
So we could do it at fair market value if there was demand out there.
Yes, you can.
But this is a reliable source and that's why we're going there. Is there, because that point of diversion's at that well, is there any way that we could use that water beneficially in any way, shape or form?
No, especially not this year.
Yeah, but I mean, in the future, instead of sending it down that way,
So I'm not sure where we would use it or for what purposes. Right now, all of our county stuff is on that, but we're not selling the water rights. So at some point, as long as we continue with beneficial use, which this qualifies as, we keep those water rights and they're available in the future if something does come up where it would be beneficial.
something optional. Because I was thinking like road construction, that kind of stuff where it's not treated water or anything else. We could possibly do that on some years, some projects. It was just a question.
Questions down on this end? No?
One more, Chairman.
Go ahead.
Where it's about $4,400. Is that right?
That seems about right.
Where does that money go?
That would go into the let's see, that one, I think we put into the fairgrounds.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna recommend. So, all right, I was trying to go off memory. All right, thank you.
Anything further up here? Any public comment? All right, then we will need a motion for 24B. Anybody out there want to give me a motion?
Chairman Hockaday, I'll make a motion to approve with the Walker River Irrigation District, the lease of 29.9459 acre feet of Lyon County Fairgrounds Incorporated stored water rights until October 31st, 2023 for $147 per acre foot. Do you need where the money is going or not? No.
Yeah. Any second on that?
Second.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you don't, I will. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Vote 5-0, no nays. And we're gonna go down to recess to reconvene as Willow Creek General Improvement District Board and any public participation. You have, and state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. I don't see anybody, so we will move on with 26A for possible action. Approve an agreement with the Walker River Irrigation District to lease 30.89 acre feet of Penrose General Improvement District stored water rights until October 31st, 2023 for $147 per acre foot. Any commissioner questions on that? It's basically the same thing as before, only a different fund. Different, I should say, different group. Questions?
just one-
Okay, yeah, Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Where's this money go?
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record, since it's the Willow Creek General Improvement District, the funds remain in that district. Just admin.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Well, actually,
Okay, go ahead.
I do have
All
one,
right,
I think. Okay, so I just read this, so now you confused me. Okay, because the item is
Penrose.
Penrose General Improvement District, but we're as the Willow Creek General Improvement District. Can you clarify that for me?
I can.
Please do.
Many years ago, Mr. William Penrose was a developer. He developed the Penrose subdivision.
Right.
The water rights were in the Penrose Improvement District. The actual legal name is the Willow Creek General Improvement District. They are synonymous. However, at some point, we should probably get the records changed to reflect their own one.
Please do, because that confuses feeble minds like mine.
Okay.
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Everybody's good? Public comment? Did you have another comment?
No,
Hand in the-
I make a motion.
Okay, all right. Then I'll take the motion from Commissioner Keller. Go ahead.
Motion to approve an agreement with the Walker River Irrigation District to lease 30.89 acre feet of Penrose General Improvement District stored water rights until October 31st, 2023 for $147 per each acre foot.
Do I have a second? I'll second it then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. Moving right along. Reports. 27A for possible action, review and accept claims and financial reports. Any commissioner comments on the financial reports? Public comment on financial reports? Everybody's quiet. I'll take a motion then to,
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the claims and financial reports for the Willow Creek General Improvement District.
Second.
okay, got a motion by Commissioner Henderson, a second by Commissioner Jacobson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. Okay. Item 28, public participation, this is for ending up with the Willow Creek. Have any public participation on the Willow Creek report? Seeing none, we will move on to adjourn and
Oh, yeah, sorry.
adjourn to reconvene as the Lyon County Board of Commissioners. And we're at item 29, agenda requests. Do I have any agenda requests? No?
It's still germinating.
Okay. Great. We'll go down to commissioner comments. Let's start with Commissioner Hendricks again this morning. Or this afternoon.
My only comment is I would like us to take a look at code enforcement at some point and trying to put some teeth in our code enforcement.
Okay. Go down to Commissioner Jacobson.
Not at this time, Chairman Huckabee.
Okay. And Commissioner Keller, you're ready to go.
I'd like to acknowledge Sheila Holmes for being appointed by NACO to be the representative for the NACO Fund for the Accident Care and Indigent Person Board. So thank you for moving up.
That it? Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just hope everybody has a safe and happy Easter weekend. Gets to spend some time with your family if possible and stay safe.
Thank you. And I'd like to kind of piggyback onto the agenda request from Commissioner Hendricks to look at our ordinances and in specific areas and what's going on with some of the other areas that are kind of blighted in our county. See what we can do to come up with some ideas as a commission and as a working group. The last thing that we need to talk about here, we do have a closed session today, but commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Jacobson. Any comments further?
We just did that.
Oh, we just did that. I'm sorry. I was still hung up on agenda requests. Closed session is going to be happening and we'll go ahead and look forward to that. Let me go with the final public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time. So it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizen wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. Board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda item, but before the board takes any action. So I'm wondering if we have anybody that's going to say any more public comments. Anybody on last chance, going, Adjourn,
Well, we're not adjourned.
except for a closed session.